There you go.
Okay, so you can see what we're talking about here. You see some of those colors mixing together there. That's at least some weak rotation. If we get even a little bit closer here, my fear is that we'd be crossing just close to that county line here pretty closely. Oh boy. All right, so we're going to go ahead and switch places here, do a little trade-off. I'm going to go ahead and run radar for our Chief Meteorologist, Scott Covert. He's going to take over this tornado warning for you.
Stephen, thanks so much for getting us going here. Working on some Facebook Live issues there. If you're just now joining us here on 5 Plus or on 5 News, of course, we're tracking this tornado warning. This one specifically is just for Haskell and Sequoyah County. You're going to notice area wide. We do have a lot of activity out there. The only cell that's actually rotating is this guy right here, which does include portions of western Sequoyah County. What we'll do as that gets a little bit closer to the Fort Smith area, we're going to take a little bit closer look into this. There's a lot of rain, a lot of lightning, so it's going to be tough to pick out any actual rotation or lowering of the cloud deck. That's probably not going to be visible given the fact there's so much rain right there. That area of rotation, should it actually be there, it's probably now crossing the county line into portions of southern Sequoyah County. We'll go back in and look at the rotation detector, and when we do that, we'll notice there is a very clear pronounced area of rotation. Let me circle it here for you. It's going to be this general vicinity right here, and of course that's pushing off towards the north and east. So Sallisaw is certainly included in this tornado warning polygon. Right now, the current track of the cell may keep it just barely to your west, far too close for comfort. The thing to keep in mind with this area of rotation here, it's not as strong as it has been, but it still certainly warrants paying close attention to and warrants taking those tornado safety precautions. That cell was much tighter, and those colors there indicating some stronger wind speeds was a little bit higher several scans ago. Let's hope that trend continues. Right now, though, enough persistent rotation. I think persistence the best way of describing it, because this specific cell has had a lot of rotation on it for quite some time over the last several minutes. Stephen, remind me, how fast was that tracking? 35 miles per hour. So with that thing moving towards the northeast, we're going to track that up and give you some estimated times of arrival based off current speed and trajectory. Tomahawk 1256, Mckey at 110, Dwight Mission 118, Marble City 122, Brushy at 127. That's where that area of rotation is right now, and I drew that right there towards the northeast, and I did extend it a little bit further than the actual warning polygon itself goes, simply because I wanted to give you a little bit more heads up. That doesn't necessarily mean that won't weekend. I certainly hope that could be the case for a lot of folks in northern Sequoyah County. Right now, though, this general vicinity, southern Sequoyah, getting close to that I-40 corridor, is where our primary area of concern is. In addition to that area of rotation, there's probably going to be quite a bit of heavy rain, and there's probably going to be some gusty winds coming out of this cell as well. In fact, what we'll do here, we'll reset area wide, and when we do that, what we're going to notice is things are pretty quiet in northwest Arkansas. Bulk of the activity now moving into east Oklahoma. With that said, all this is tracking off towards the north and east, so I would expect some additional rainfall for a lot of us. The tornado watch includes Sequoyah, Crawford, Franklin. No, it does not include Franklin. Sequoyah, Crawford, Sebastian, LaFleur, Logan, Scott. We'll see if we don't have to add any more of those counties. They have been seemingly adding in a couple of those. You'll notice this new warning now extending just to the west of Adair County. That's going to be for probably some straight line winds coming out of the main line. That is now extending a little bit further towards the north. It's going to be this one cell that currently has the highest chance of rotating. That rotation has been weakening with time, but it has been so persistent that that warning now no longer includes Stigler, but it does include Vian, portions of Sallisaw, Tomahawk right here. We'll go back in and look at our velocities. We're just going to look at the winds there. Looks like that warning's now been updated, so we've trimmed it a little bit further. We're closing in on that Haskell, Sequoyah County line right there. When you look at the velocities, those are just our winds. Which direction are they blowing? How fast are they going? And you still can see somewhat of a pronounced area of rotation. It's going to be right in this general vicinity right here. You can kind of see where those greens and those pinks starting to seemingly come together as that cell lifts towards the north and east. That's going to be your concern. Okay, making sure we're not missing anything over there. I think this is probably crossing 40, somewhere between Vian and Sallisaw. In fact, Sallisaw looks like a good chunk of town, now excluded from portions of that warning. Maybe the west side still is. Well, let's go in a little bit closer here. Where's that rotation at exactly right now at this moment? North of Garland, so we're really getting close to that county line. Let me back out just a bit. A little bit further. Yeah, right here is, of course, this white line is the county line. North of that, or above that, it's going to be Sequoyah County. Your rotation's right here. It's pretty easy to see, right, with that spin continuing. When we look at the rotation track, you can kind of see right now, this is probably where it would be. Sometimes this product's delayed a little bit. It's one of those things that the computer takes some time to think through what's actually happening out there, so I don't rely on it a whole lot, but that track of it, certainly would continue to push it towards the northeast, pretty close to Vian, but likely between, let's say, halfway between Vian and Sallisaw, should that continue on its current track that it likely currently appears to be taking. Waiting for some new data to come in. This is going to be out of our Fort Smith radar site. Does give us a pretty decent idea of where that rotation is. Right now, the rotation itself is going to be, let's see how many miles. This is going to be, let's say about 5, 6, 7 miles perhaps south of Interstate 40. So just for some context as to where we're looking at, it's not the fastest moving cell, but it is certainly moving now at about, what was it, 35 miles per hour, Stephen?
So it actually just updated that that's moving at 30 miles per hour
Okay,
now.
so it's actually slowing down just a little bit. I look at our tornado debris detector and I'm not finding anything that stands out to me as debris at the moment. That's some good news for us. We'll keep watching that. In the meantime, when you look at it just on rain mode, it's pretty messy. It's a pretty messy signature. If you're standing here in Tomahawk, if you're standing in Sallisaw or Vian, you're looking out on the back porch, number one, don't do that. You're not going to see anything. It's really rain wrapped for sure. That area of rotation is going to be right in the middle of this precipitation, so you're not going to be able to see up within that specific cell. Looks like we've got some new data. What does it show us? Looks like that rotation's persistent there. Stephen's pointing out we do have another severe thunderstorm warning. Let's back out and see who all is included in this specific warning. This is going to be now including a good chunk of Sequoyah, the rest of Sequoyah, a good chunk of LaFleur County. That's that cell popping up there. It looks like this one would probably likely be for straight line winds, maybe a little bit of small hail there as well. Spiro, Poto, Panama, Muldrow, all of Sallisaw now included, Moffett as well, Roland. You're going to be included in this new severe thunderstorm warning. Inevitably, that track does take it into the Van Buren Fort Smith area, likely Hackett and Greenwood as well. That specific warning in effect until, let's see here. Stephen, if you'll help me out with that.
New severe thunderstorm warning goes out until 1:45.
1:45. Okay, so we got a ways to go, which is one of those ways you can tell how slowly these storms are moving. When those warnings are extended that far out, you know that they're not fast-moving cells, and that certainly continues to be the case. I want to focus back here on our tornado warning. We'll go back into our winds. What are they doing? Area of rotation right here. It's not the most pronounced area of rotation. The thing that gives me a little bit of concern with this one is that it's been so persistent, likely over the last couple of hours, really, as this storm track closer and closer and closer. It's had a tornado warning on it for quite some time. That rotation, while at times has been stronger and at times it does weaken, it seemingly is always pulsing back up. There is a bit of a boundary that's draped right through the river valley, and these storms love to work along those boundaries. When they're on those boundaries, they get rooted at the surface, and that's going to allow these storms to become surface-based, and that's, of course, here at the surface where tornadoes often happen, always happen, right? So that cell, just knowing the environment that it's in, is certainly going to be conducive for the potential of some strong to severe thunderstorms continuing into the river valley as well. Stephen?
New severe thunderstorm warning includes the rest of southern LaFleur County.
Okay, let's see. Let's go back to rain mode. We'll take a look into southern LaFleur County. Let me back this out for us just a little bit. Okay, so it does look like Heavener is going to be included in that. Good afternoon to everybody there in Heavener, probably Wester, Fanshawe, Bekoshi, all included in well, it appears to be several severe thunderstorm warnings that are just kind of piecemealed together right there all the way up to the Arkansas-Oklahoma state line. That extends into northern Sequoyah County, Delaware and Adair County, not under any current warnings. We'll have to watch for the potential of some winds to come out of that Boeing segment there. Those could make their way into northwest Arkansas. Of course, there is going to be some tornado potential there overall, but the highest tornado potential is probably going to be along and south of Interstate 40. There's a lot going on here, a lot of psychedelic colors. Let me zoom out. Well, orange is going to be our severe thunderstorm warnings. The red's going to be our one tornado warning that we have at the moment. Yellow is going to be your tornado watches. Tornado watch, of course, indicative of the potential for some storms to quickly develop some rotation. And that's what we've seen here in portions of Sequoyah County. This cell now only moving at about 30 miles per hour. So you got a minute or two more in Vian if you want to go ahead and take those tornado safety precautions. Mckey, of course, also included in this potential tornado warning. I will tell you, based off what I'm seeing right now, my assumption is we probably don't have a tornado on the ground necessarily at the moment, but that's not to mean that might not change at any given second. Rotation has consistently been there. Right now it is just Doppler radar indicated rotation crossing the county line into portions of Sequoyah County. Let me back up. Let's put a new track on this. Knowing that that's slowed down just a little bit, I can give you a little bit better estimated time of arrival simply based on the speed and the direction that it's moving there. Right here is going to be your concern, your area of rotation. They dropped a different warning, didn't they? Let me back that up. They did that really poorly. Supercell.
Some information to pass along to you while you're doing that. That severe thunderstorm warning that was just towards the east of it, the one that includes parts of LaFleur and Sequoyah County, they do have that tornado possible tag on that one.
The other potential one. Mm-hmm. Okay, excellent. Good to know. Thank you. I'm going to go back over here and look at our debris tracker. I think I may have froze this up here, pushing too many buttons all at once. There we go. Nothing stands out immediately from the big picture. Let's go in closer. If we saw any debris, this is where it would start to show up, and I don't necessarily see a lot in the way of debris at the moment, or really anything necessarily that's immediately concerning, other than there's probably going to be a good push of winds in addition to that tornado potential, likely moving through the Vian community. As that Boeing segment kind of continues there. Let's go back a little bit further towards the south. We'll keep an eye on this. I want to make sure nothing's starting to rotate. Here in Keota, I will say there's an interesting little feature right here. So that's going to be just to the west of Spiro, south of Brent. You see that Boeing segment there, that little comma head, if you will? There's probably going to be some really strong winds coming out of that as well. In fact, radar is right now indicating probably...
National Weather Service agreeing with you, saying that is increasing near Keota.
Yeah, that little kink right there is concerning. So I'm glad we're all seeing that at the same time. That would take, if that rotation were to start to develop, and that is somewhat of a concerning little area in which you can start to get a little bit of spin and a little eddy right there when those start to develop. Wouldn't be surprised at all if we don't see a little bit more rotation starting to tighten back up there. I hope not. I hope I'm wrong, but that appears to be what might be happening there. That would inevitably take that also into parts of Sequoyah, maybe far northwestern LaFleur County with that one. So let's watch that closely. A lot of this is going to be tracking into the river valley. It's just going to take a little bit of time. Right now, things are moving relatively slowly, which in one sense gives us a little bit of extra lead time. We can give folks some heads up and some warning, and that's the name of the game. On the other hand, it just means we're probably going to have to endure some severe storms for a little bit longer than any of us would like. I'm not seeing any rotation necessarily in southern LaFleur County at the moment. That's some good news. Two primary areas of concern. One is now moving entirely into Sequoyah County, west of Sallisaw. That storm is tornado warned and does include Vian. Vian needs to be taking their tornado safety precautions at this moment. A second area of rotation that, while not warned at the moment, appearingly is starting to tighten up, becoming a little bit more organized. So that storm would inevitably move back into Sequoyah County as well. Brent would be next in line should that continue to come together. Sallisaw inevitably would also be in the path of that dangerous storm. Right now it's just severe thunderstorm warned. Let's hope it doesn't peak up and change there. We'll look at just the winds alone. We'll look at velocity now. Okay, I will tell you that rotation coming into Sequoyah counties, that's actually strengthened. It was weakening, but now that is a much more pronounced area of rotation. Doppler radar indicated right there, Tamaha. So Vian, while things were looking a little bit better for you, now I'm getting a little bit more heartburn. I'd really like folks in Vian to take this storm a little bit more seriously than you were. If you haven't already, put the shoes on, get to that safe location. I'd like you to go ahead and do just that. In fact, I'll tell you, that rotation is maybe stronger than it has been over the last at least 45 minutes or so. That's not necessarily a trend that we want to see. Let's go ahead and make sure we don't have anything on the ground. We'll look at our debris tracker. Are we seeing any debris being lofted into the air? We weren't the last time I took a look at this. I don't see anything necessarily that stands out as of this moment. Have we seen any reports? We've seen no reports from chasers or spotters there. They would pop up on the map if we did. That's the good news. Not going to see a lot out there. It is kind of easy to pinpoint exactly where that inflow notch would be. It's kind of right in this general vicinity. It's a messy signal. Those storms out there are probably fighting against each other, which is maybe helping to mitigate to some extent the concern. But I'll tell you, that rotation has really come up over that last specific scan right there. Goodness gracious. Tomahawk, Vian, a good chunk of Sequoyah County. Man, that was a terrible squiggly line. Good chunk of Sequoyah County. That's your area of concern. That is going to continue pushing off towards the northeast, but it's moving rather slowly. Right now, some experimental data from the Weather Service indicates that cell has up to a 60% chance of producing a tornado. That's a little bit too high. Let's do this.
New tornado warning's about to come in for the Keota area.
Okay, I knew that was going to happen. I saw that little signature and I did not have a good feeling about that. Okay, so heads up, this is going to include a good chunk of Sequoyah County. Sequoyah County, right now, you're under the gun with two specific cells, one of which is tornado warned. This other one is soon going to be tornado warned over the next couple of minutes. Stephen, thank you for that information. Let's go back into our wind velocities. What you're going to see here, this area of rotation strengthening, this one strengthening, that new tornado warning now popping up. It includes Sallisaw, it includes portions of northwestern Leflore County, it does not include Spiro. Let's go in tighter on this one now that we've got some new information to pass along to you. That is going to include Brent, looks like just the east of Harrison. Hanson also included in that potential tornado. It's not a potential, it is a tornado warning. Right now, that area of rotation, Cowington Point Road, just to the south of Brent, west of Highway 59, Cowington, just to the west side of town. Here's where the rotation is. You can clearly see where that spin is just starting to really come together and tighten up. And this is pushing up towards the northeast. So Brent is next in line. Highway 141 through Gans. You really need to be taking those tornado safety precautions right now. The area of rotation is knocking at your back door rather quickly. And in doing so, it's only going to give you a few more minutes to take those tornado safety precautions. Stephen, how quick is that cell moving?
25.
Keota's at 25?
Yep.
These things really are moving slowly. Let's do this. I'll put a supercell track on that one. We're going to give you an estimated times of arrival for that specific cell from the area of rotation all the way up towards the northeast. Right now, that would put it at power plant at 119, Brent at 120, Gans 133, Hanson 137, Muldrow 146, Aikens at 147, Bellefonte at 203. That's assuming it doesn't change its path or speed. These things actually have been slowing down just a little bit. Let's hope, if anything, they continue to slow down and not speed up. These are the estimated times of arrival in which you could expect a supercell that is producing some increasingly strong rotation to be moving through your area. Here's Spiro. Just to the northwest of that, a very small sliver of Leflore County is included in that warning. Heads up, folks, in Uniontown, Van Buren, Cedarville, Fort Smith. You're not included in any immediate pressing threat, but I don't like the general trajectory of these storms that would track a lot of those into the Arkansas River Valley. We really want to be on guard there. Back into our first first tornado warning, I should say. That rotation is quite impressive from a radar level. On a personal level, it's quite concerning. If you're in Sequoyah County, if you're in Mckey, Vian, Tomahawk, right now, really need you to be in your tornado safety location. Here's Oklahoma Highway 82. Of course, here's US 64, I-40. That new tornado warning now excludes Haskell County. Area of rotation has definitively moved into Sequoyah County. Right here, there it is. I got to stop drawing some bad lines. There it is, right there. There's your concern. There's your area of rotation. That's going to continue pushing off towards the northeast. Here's Mckey Road. Here's US 64. Just for some context, we're probably a mile or two at most from I-40 and 64, from the actual area of rotation. We'll draw a little ruler here. It's going to be right here. So, yeah, we're 2, 3, 4 miles at best. So we're closing in on that I-40 US 64 corridor between Vian and Mckey. That's where that area of rotation is likely going to be passing over your next, let's give it 5 to 10 minutes tops. It is moving a little bit slower, so you might have a second or two if you want to go ahead Let's get those shoes on. Let's get to the safe locations. Let's get the many walls between you and the exterior as possible. We'll go back over to this new tornado warning. This one does include portions of northwestern LaFleur, but it really includes the bulk of Sequoyah County. So right now there are 2 different supercells impacting Sequoyah County, 2 different tornado warnings, both for the Doppler radar indicated rotation. This rotation has steadily been coming up over the last several minutes or so. You can see it's right there where those winds are starting to converge. They're getting a little bit brighter, those colors are, and that tells us those winds are not only converging, they're starting to spin, but they're doing so quicker and quicker, and that's where we start to see that Doppler radar indicated rotation. For the folks in Brent, Gans, Sallisaw, Bellefonte, you really need to take this one seriously. This one's also going to be moving up towards Roland. Roland is included in this new tornado warning. That one, Stephen has tracked at 25 miles per hour. We'll put a new track on that. When is it going to arrive in your neck of the woods? This is going to be for Brent 123, Gans 135, Hanson 139, Blackjack 145, Aikens at 149. Let's do this. I'm going to go back in closer here. Where is that rotation now? And this is going to probably pinpoint it just to the southwest of Brent. A little bit closer there. So here's Cowington Point Road. Here's Brent, here's Oklahoma 59, and we're looking maybe a mile, maybe a half mile to the southwest of Brent at this point. That's where that spin is. Rotation began developing in Keota. That thread is now to the north of Oklahoma 9, outside of Keota. So if you live north of Keota, a mile or 2 outside of town, that is where that Doppler radar indicated rotation is, right here. We're closing in on that Sequoyah County line once more. Soon that supercell, that storm is going to be moving into the bulk of Sequoyah County, Brent, and anywhere along 59 between, let's say, Couting Road, 4640 and Brent. Here's Oklahoma 41, kind of top of your screen there. If you live anywhere along there, really need you to go ahead and take this one seriously as well. Let's do this. Let's reset area wide. Got some folks just now joining us. Current time here is 1:11. We do have a very active severe weather event unfolding right now. All of the activity that we see is currently in East Oklahoma. West Arkansas quiet at the moment. Rain beginning to move into Northwest Arkansas. Right now that's just rain. Severe weather potential ongoing, likely in portions of the Arkansas River Valley. For the most part, we'll have to watch to see if we don't get a severe storm in Northwest Arkansas. I think the odds there are going to be slightly lower. Stephen.
Yeah, so we have those 2 tornado warnings out there right now. They were just trimming parts of the one for going into Vian right now, but that rotation very much concerning right now. Keeping a close eye on the National Weather Service communication to see if they're seeing anything else with that rotation. Still haven't seen any updates from them. They're monitoring that, but as soon as they have enough confidence to say, hey, that rotation is tight enough, they will let us know, hey, this is either confirmed or this is still something we're just monitoring right now. As of this point, something they're just monitoring the rotation for, and nothing confirmed as of this moment.
Nothing confirmed, which is some good news. Let's hope that continues to be the case. One thing's for sure, I know we all like to go outside. It's the middle of the day too, and so we're going to have a little bit of daylight, and you're going to be looking. You're just not going to be able to see anything. It's ground truth's going to be really hard to come by today. Go look at all that rain right there, and that rotation's embedded within all that heavy precipitation. It's going to be tough to really pinpoint anything at all. Seemingly good news. Let's see. Make sure I'm on the right one. It looks like maybe with that latest scan, our rotation near Vian is going to be a little bit less organized than it once was. A rotation likely right now on top of 64 and 40 right there, that corridor right at Vian. That rotation, it's still there, but that doesn't look near as pronounced as it was a second ago, which could potentially be a good trend for us. Let me go back in here to that secondary new area of rotation, which is also going to impact Sequoyah County. It's likely crossing into Sequoyah County right now. Rotation there had been steadily increasing over the last several minutes. You can definitely still see the spin. It's easy to see where those winds are converging there. So red's blowing away from the Fort Smith radar site. That green's inbound wind blowing towards the Fort Smith radar site. And so when those start to come together and dance, where I've drawn that circle, that's where you got that spin beginning to develop. Now moving into the Brent community, Muldrow needs to be aware of this storm as well. This would likely take it really close into Muldrow. So anywhere between Muldrow and Sallisaw, that's where that potential area of concern is going to be passing. I don't see evidence evidence right now of a tornado on the ground. We'll go ahead and look at debris tracker once more to make sure nothing's trying to spin up. I don't see necessarily a lot with regards to that. That doesn't mean a tornado might develop here at any given moment. The rotation certainly pronounced enough that that storm appears to want to do something. Let's just see if the environment can prevent it from doing so. Here's Highway 59. Here's going to be Oklahoma 141. And this, of course, is going to be I-40 and 64 between Muldrow and Salisaw. That storm is right now coming into the Brent community, that area of rotation. Soon it is going to come closer and closer into Muldrow. When you look at just winds alone, you know, there's probably some gusty straight line winds mixing in there at times. It's just where they start to dance and come together that rotation is going to be a little bit stronger. When you kind of just take out all the mess and you just look at the rotation product alone, you can see these two areas of blue. That would indicate to us some weak but consistently persistent rotation that hasn't necessarily ever weakened below severe limits over the last several minutes. That's the concern we're going to have for the next little bit. You can see that area of rotation there, Vian. Here's the area of rotation to the southwest, really just to the south of Brent. Both of these two areas moving towards the northeast between 25 and 30 miles per hour. So they are moving somewhat slow. That's the good news for us. When we look at the hail tracker, I'm not looking at a lot of hail within that specific storm. That's the good news. Let's see if we have any reports from chasers. Nope, no reports from chasers popping up. Honestly, I'm not surprised by that, just given the fact that we are going to be so rain wrapped with these cells. It's going to be really tough to see anything at all with either of those. They are starting to come closer and closer together, which tells me that they might start interacting, which maybe would mean they do start to see some weakening. Too early to say for sure. That's one of the potential outcomes that we could see. Rotation now just to the east of Vian, pretty much in Vian. It's much less organized than it once was, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to not pulse back up. This cell has. It has done that quite a bit actually in its life cycle over the last couple of hours. Area of rotation just to the south of Brent there as well. Let's see what else we got. Those are going to be our two primary concerns at the moment. That's the only two tornado warnings that we have in effect, but we do have some severe thunderstorm warnings. Let's focus in on those as well. We'll go back area wide. Here's the entire Channel 5 viewing area. Those other severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for portions of LaFleur County. I know northwestern LaFleur technically in that warning, but I'll tell you the rotation's probably not going to do anything but move into Sequoyah County. I think we're largely going to miss it there in LaFleur with that northern cell. Not to say one of these in the south may not try to pulse up and produce something, but right now when you look at wind velocities, I'm not seeing anything that necessarily just stands out as immediately concerning. Let's make sure that doesn't change though. That line running north to south, so all of East Oklahoma getting in on the rain. Things are starting to pick up here in Fort Smith. In fact, what I want to do, I'm going to have to step off screen for a hot second. I'm going to look at some of our cameras in if you want to pull up the ACHE camera right there. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. This is going to be a look in South Fort Smith. I have this pointed off towards the west, so we're probably looking in that general vicinity of that storm. Obviously, you can see a lot of precipitation there. Not necessarily a lot to be discerned, but nonetheless, a high precipitation storm is going to continue. Embedded within all that rain, probably some concerning spin. Can't see a whole lot as well. Can we pull up the POTO camera? I had that one pointed in a pretty good direction as well, if you guys don't mind. POTO. Okay, okay. Top of the hospital there, Eastern Oklahoma Medical Center, not going to give us much of a view there as well. Let's go back to live radar, full screen, please. Right now, our two areas of concern are primarily going to be impacting Sequoyah County. It's going to be a rough next 30 or so minutes for Sequoyah County. Let's hope these storms can continue weakening or just dissipate entirely over the next couple of minutes. Otherwise, we very well could see that tornado watch continue through its expiration time, which is right now at 5 p.m. It's pretty easy to pick out both areas of rotation. Looks like the Vian rotation now kind of coming back together, a little bit more concerning there. Meanwhile, the area in Brent, not as pronounced as it once was. That's some good news. This rotation now to the east of Vian, it's been pulsing up and pulsing down. It's been the one that has been very persistent for the last several I got a couple hours, really, by the time I got here into work again this morning. This one had a tornado warning well back into southern Oklahoma, and it's almost maintained that the entire time. Right now, rotation would be right on top of 40 and 64. It's going to be passing towards McKey Road, right here in McKey. If you live anywhere north of McKey to the north, I think you want to be in your safe location right now. That rotation, it was weakening, but it does look like it's starting to become a little bit more organized than it once was a few scans ago. Northwest of Harrison there, that's going to be your area of concern. Pinhook Corner, you're not technically in this warning, but you're going to probably be in a new one unless this thing weakens really quickly. I'll tell you, as we approach the edge of that warning polygon right here, what the Weather Service is going to be discussing internally is this rotation weakened enough, or is the environment in which these storms are moving into going to be prohibitive for supercells to continue to produce rotation. Right now, I don't necessarily see that, so I wouldn't be surprised at all to see a new warning issued downstream. This warning continues until 1:30 for portions of Sequoyah County, so we have about 11 more minutes to go. Let's see, was that a new one just issued?
It wasn't a new one, they just trimmed it down.
Just trimmed it, okay, got it, excellent. So you can see that rotation right there between Vian and McKey. It's somewhat broad in nature, but it's definitely there. This general vicinity right here, we're sitting almost near stationary on top of 64 and I-40, but we are making some northeasterly progress, though only at about 25 miles per hour.
Actually, that warning was even dropped to 20 miles per hour, so these are crawling right now.
Okay, so looks are not deceiving me. I was thinking that thing looks almost near stationary. So at one point it was 35 miles an hour, and now Steven's telling me it's down to 20. So that cell is just really not moving quickly at all. When I look here into the Brent community north of Cowington Point Road, here's Oklahoma 141. That area of concern far less concerning than it once was. That rotation did try to peak up, and there is still definitively some rotation here. I'm not going to deny that, but it's not nearly as concerning as it was a few minutes ago. Gans, though, and Brent, Muldrow, and Roland, I would like you to go ahead and take those tornado safety precautions just for your own safety. That rotation, let's hope it continues. Weakening there. Looks like we do have a spotter report from Highway 59 and 141. That's going to be just east of Brent, reporting some rotation. So that spotter's probably going to be in a really good position to see something. It's a lot of rain. It's going to be tough to see much at all, but now we have a little bit of ground truth starting to come in with regards to what's actually happening out there. We'll go ahead and look at the debris tracker. Just want to make sure I don't see any debris standing out to me. That's the good news. When we look at our rotation detector tool, you can see that's where that report now just coming in from of some rotation right here within that storm. Everything pinpoints to the fact that there is still some rotation. It's just a little bit weaker than it was. So if you're in Gans, I think it's certainly wise. I would say Roland as well, Muldrow. It's wise to be in those safe locations. Take your tornado safety precautions seriously here. But I think this is generally, let's hope it doesn't pulse up. Right now, it's a little bit on the weaker side. That doesn't mean it might not pulse up quickly. It's not going to take much. And sometimes these things can pulse up with little notice at all. Like in between radar scans, we're talking within 30, 45 seconds. And that's why we take these so seriously, despite the fact that their current appearance keeps them a little bit on the weaker side of things. It can change so quickly, and then radar just has to get caught up. So given the environment that these are in, I definitely would recommend taking your cautions very seriously over the next few minutes. This rotation now north of 40.
I want to point your attention to something, Scott, as well, something the National Weather Service is talking about. The Worcester community there, just outside of Poto, along 271 in LaFleur County. Some circulation starting to form there as well.
Well, we can't have that. I love Worcester. Okay, let's get down here. Let's take a look at that. Thank you, Stephen, for pointing that out. There's a lot going on these days. It's really helpful to have a lot of folks here keeping eyes on all these different cells while we focus on the most pressing ones. It's important to, can we get that off, please? It's important to focus on the actual cells there so we can continue tracking all the others. We'll go back into, you said Worcester, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I can kind of see it just from the broad picture there. Yeah, right here it is. Yep, you see those greens are starting to kind of come together between Fanshawe and Worcester. That would be a little bit of weak rotation. That is going to come up close to Poto. Let's keep an eye on our Poto camera. I may need to spin that around. Where's my
I
cell
think it's in your,
phone
I think it's in your pocket. Is it not?
One of my phones is in my pocket. Not
that
the
the right
wrong
one?
of course.
Got the other one here, right?
Yeah, fantastic. Let's spin this poto camera around to the southwest and see if we can't see that fella. It's going to be tough, folks. I don't expect to honestly see anything. We would be really lucky if we did. And the reason is we just have so much precipitation within these cells that it's really going to be tough to actually see anything visually. Radar is going to probably be our best tool for the next little bit. So we're looking kind of in that general vicinity. I'll leave that there. I'll come back to it. Not a warning right now, but it is certainly something folks in Poto, Panama, even Heavener want to be aware of, that a little bit of rotation trying to come together with that specific cell. I'm going to focus back in on these other cells that are currently tornado warned, and Stephen's going to alert me if anything else needs to be looked at there. So probably some gusty winds now coming out of that cell, getting ready to move into Muldrow. Between Sallisaw and Muldrow, while that rotation is not as tight as it was, you see that bowing segment there? That's probably a good push of wind right out of that cell, which would indicate to us there's probably going to be some very breezy winds. More than likely, there's 40 mile per hour, there's 41. That's at the radar beam level. Some of that can translate a little bit lower. New, well, it's not new, it's an updated tornado warning. The reason that's flashing there is we've trimmed the northwestern portions of LaFleur County that were probably inadvertently included in that warning to begin with. So now we've just got these two tornado warnings for Sequoyah County. This rotation is so persistent, and at times it has weakened a little bit, but it's never weakened enough that we can cancel that warning. It is certainly there. There's no question about it, and it's moving really slowly. So Vian is where that area of rotation would be, just to the west of Mckey. Here's going to be 4540. This is going to be, I guess, 4540 there, east 1040 Road, just to the east of Vian. That's going to be moving towards Pinhook Corner, Dwight Mission as well, also in the path of that storm. While not technically in a warning, those two communities, given just the persistent nature of this spin right here, I can't imagine that it goes without another warning being issued, likely over the next several minutes. Is that a new one that just came down?
It is a new one. It was extended from that Vian
Okay,
warning.
of course it was. Let's see, let me back out here. Let's get folks a heads up who's in this new warning. You can see it kind of pulsing on the screen there. That would include Marble City, looks like Flute Springs as well. Brushy's not going to be included in that one, although it's pretty close to the other one. Let me back this up here.
Goes out until 2 p.m., still moving at 20 miles per hour.
Here's the new warning right here. Rotation is now to the east and northwest. That doesn't make any sense. It's now to the east of Vian. You said 20?
20.
Okay, let's track that together. We'll put a cone on this. Well, I'm just going to have to do it at 25, but that's going to be close enough. Pinhook Corner, 131, Fields Chapel, 135, Dwight Mission at 136, Petite Chapel at 142, Marble City, 143, Flute Springs at 149, Bunch at 201. That's when that area of rotation is going to be moving into your area. Tornado could be imminent at any moment with that specific cell. Let's take another look into this other one that is impacting also Sequoyah County. A lot of folks in Sequoyah County being impacted by severe weather this afternoon. Let's all take it seriously. That rotation much more broad. In fact, a couple more scans and maybe we're going to not have to call that rotation anymore. I do think there's probably some gusty winds coming out of that. That's soon going to be passing between Sallisaw and Muldrow. I think you're going to feel those winds, probably anywhere between 40 to 60 miles per hour. When we look at the rotation, let's see, that's still persistently there. We did get a spotter report out of the Brent community right there along 59 and 141 of seeing some rotation. Radar is certainly continuing to indicate that that is still a likely concern for us as well. We'll look at this other cell. A little bit of rotation there. It's pretty much the same. It's not really changed a whole lot at all over the last several minutes. It's persistently weak, but persistently enough that I am a little bit concerned just given the environment and the boundaries that are laying out there with that specific cell. I'm curious what's going on near Worcester now. That rotation detector not finding anything yet. I think I see a little bit of something there though. Yep, that's definitely starting to kind of come together. It's weak, there's no question about it. I don't want to alarm necessarily anyone in Smacker, Worcester, or Poteau, but there is a little bit of rotation now just right there in Worcester. It's not strong enough that I think you need to panic. It's not strong enough to even issue a tornado warning, at least as of right now, but it certainly is a little bit of spin trying to develop. That would take it close to Poteau, pretty much right there. Right into Poteau. It probably wouldn't impact Heavener, doesn't look like, at least as of right now, but if you live in here between Heavener and Poteau, I'd certainly recommend taking those tornado safety precautions. What it looks like on radar would be this. So area of rotation is going to be right in this general vicinity here. That's all pushing towards the northeast. Fanshawe, you're probably going to be done with that specific cell. There is going to be some rain that continues off to your backside. When we look at live Doppler radar, area-wide, rain slowly but surely progressing off towards the east, and that's going to be moving up and down that I-49 corridor between, let's say, Bentonville all the way back towards Alma here soon, but right now that's all it is. Our warnings are primarily only in eastern Oklahoma for the time being. I think as this line continues to progress towards the east, we're going to probably see some warnings in the 5 News viewing area okay.
The tornado watch was extended into parts of Adair and Washington as well.
Adair and Washington, okay. So that's some good news to pass along. It's not the news we wanted to hear, but it's some good news to pass along. Here's what's going on out there. Tornado watch here now includes Washington and Adair County, set to expire at 5 p.m. I don't think we'll be dealing with severe weather that long. I think once the bulk of this line passes, our severe weather threat's going to wane off pretty quickly. But at least for the next 2 to 3 hours, we're going to want to be very mindful of these cells. They're moving very slowly, which unfortunately keeps our flooding concern quite high. We've seen a lot of rain over the last couple of days, and you'll notice that some of these have already produced a decent amount of rain over the last several hours alone there in portions of eastern Oklahoma. And so not only are we looking at rotation, we're looking at spin, damaging winds. On top of that, add insult to injury, we're probably going to see our flood threat materialize over the next couple of hours as these cells continue to move quite slowly. Sequoyah County is the hot spot right now. 2 areas of rotation, 2 different tornado warnings impacting almost the entire county. When we look at our velocity tracker, this is how we measure winds and rotation. And yeah, I mean, I still see that rotation here. It's going to be really close to Mckey. Back in on that one. Maybe not as concerning as it was. Here's Pinhook Corner. So just for some roads for you. Leathers Mountain Road, Pinhook Quarter Road, that's really exactly where that rotation is. It's a little bit more broad than it was the last scan from a couple of minutes ago. That's some good news, but it's still persistently there. That's the concern, is that it weakens at times, but almost always over the last couple of hours, you give it about 2 or 3 more scans and it seemingly tries to pick back up. We'll take a look at this eastern Sequoyah County cell. It has been weakening over the last couple of minutes, and by weakening, I mean the rotation, while still there, is just not as organized as it once was. I do think in Gans and Hanson and Blackjack and Maple, you've probably got some gusty winds that could in themselves cause a little bit of damage out there. 42, there's 42. That's at radar level. What does that actually translate to at the ground? It's kind of hard to say, but when you start to see some signatures like that, that tells me we've got a good push of wind, a good surge of wind coming out of that specific cell. I do think we've got a new severe thunderstorm warning. Let's take a look at that.
It does include that tornado possible tag on that new one.
Okay. So it looks like this one's going to include portions of western Adair County, and that is inevitably going to be pushing towards the northeast as well. So a lot of these storms, in fact, what I'll do for us is I'm going to loop this for the last hour, and you can see the general track of these storms. Number one, it's quite slow, but it is towards the east-northeast. Some of these storms are going to be moving into northwest Arkansas. As we see that transpire, it kind of makes sense as to why that tornado watch was extended into Washington County there specifically. So let's keep an eye on that. What I'd like to do is, folks up in the booth, if you can help me quickly, I'd like to check Mercy Rogers. I pointed that to the west a little, nope, I lied, I'm sorry. Mercy Fort Smith on Rogers Avenue. I pointed that towards the west early. Mercy Fort Smith on Rogers Avenue. Try to keep that straight. 2 Mercy Hospital cameras. One's on Rogers Avenue, one's in the town of Rogers. You don't get much sleep, it's going to be easy to confuse those two. If we can, let's look back off towards that camera. Anyone up in the booth? There we go, excellent. A little bit of a bug on our camera screen. Not seeing a lot out there. So of course, here's Rogers Avenue right here. Let's keep an eye on that. I want to keep a close eye on that. Back to live radar, please.
So National Weather Service saying the circulation moving towards Marble City has weakened quite a bit. They're following those trends. May have to cancel the warning, which would be good news for us.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I've seen that trend over the last little bit with that specific cell. So they're talking about this one right here, and it's right now, Pinhook Corner is where that rotation is, but it's pretty weak in nature. The last couple of scans, it's there. So here's Mckey, here's Pinhook Corner. That's where that concern is, moving towards Marble City. I wouldn't necessarily let my guard down right now, but I do think if we can get a couple more scans, that would be some positive news. This area of rotation here near Hanson and Gans, west of Muldrow, that specifically too, not looking as pronounced as it once was. And I find some comfort in that, knowing that that trend could potentially continue. Can't necessarily let our guard down just yet. Muldrow is of course included in that tornado warning specifically. Foreman is as well, although I'll tell you, rotation right now, if it's there, is going to be right between Hanson and Gans, east of Salisaw, west of Muldrow, moving up towards East Road 1070. Roland also included in that tornado warning. That one's set to expire at what time, Stephen?
Which one warning were we talking about?
This will be the Muldrow Gans warning.
I believe that was set to expire at 2 last time I checked.
Okay. Here's your area of rotation, still weak, so we're kind of on the lower end of the scale here. Consistently there, that's the concern for us. Let's go a little bit tighter here with this specific cell, see if we can't get a couple more roads to pop up. And what we're going to find is where this weak rotation is, places like East 1095 Road, a lot of numbers out there. Here's Tower Drive. Here's going to be Interstate 40, rotation right now on top of Interstate 40 and US 64, just to the north of Gans right there. Back out, we'll do the same thing for this other cell that has been weakening as it approaches Marble City, just off towards the northwest of that. Let me back this out a little bit. It's being kind of contrary for me. There we go. Pinhook Corner is where that rotation is. See if we can't get a few roads to pop up there. Pinhook Corner Road, 1023 Road, 1020 Road, 4570, 6575. This blue is going to be your rotation. The red is just your tornado warning polygon. When we look into the actual winds, try to discern for ourselves what that rotation may or may not be doing. It's much less organized, even with that latest scan that just came in. That's some good news. I'm hopeful maybe this could continue in the trend that it is. Leathers Mountain Road, there's another one for you. Rotation would be right there. Might even be speeding up just a little bit. I'm seeing a little bit more northeasterly progress as that tracks into Marble City. I wouldn't necessarily let my guard down just yet, but if you're watching us this afternoon in Marble City, you do have some storms moving your direction, a storm that is tornado warned. You're probably hearing the sirens. Your phones have alerted you. Right now, the trend is our friend with that specific cell. It has now fallen off. That warning has been canceled. That's some good news. Let's go back area wide. What all warnings, watches do we have in effect right now? Let's walk through this. Yellow is going to be our tornado watch, which does include now portions of northwest Arkansas, specifically Washington County. It includes Adair County. Crawford was also added within the last 30 minutes or so. Sequoyah County is where we've got the primary concern in terms of severe thunderstorms that are producing rotation. But you'll notice LaFleur County also has a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings. At times there have been a little bit of pockets of rotation trying to develop near Worcester. That hasn't really gotten its act together. I can still see a little bit already kind of poking out here just to the southwest of Panama, maybe just to the southwest of Poto, but those signs are so weak that I hate to even point them out to you just because I don't want to alarm you unnecessarily. I'll tell you though, they're weak rotations that aren't anything uncommon. Let's hope they don't track into anything. If they do, we'll keep you posted. We'll come back in and look at that one here in the next few minutes. Our one tornado warning at this moment includes Salisaw, Muldrow, Roland, Gans, but the rotation there not near as tight as it was. The rotation will be just now to the west of Muldrow. We look at our rotation detector. It's kind of falling apart a little bit there. That may not necessarily be consistent and may try to pull us back up and reorganize. When you look at it just on a radar presentation, you'll notice there's so much oranges and so much reds right there. That tells us the rain is moderate to heavy. It would be really tough to actually see any rotation. We have had one spotter report out of that area, but I'll tell you, he probably got really lucky with just one or two glances of that rotation. If I had to guess, just given the fact there's so much rain falling through this general vicinity. Let me see, I'm looking at our cameras. It looks like we may have lost Eastern Oklahoma Medical Center. It looks like that one may have gotten taken offline. Not sure if that's a lightning issue, or no, maybe it's back up. Can we check POTO? I'm getting a no input signal flashing. It seemingly is acting like maybe we've lost it. Okay, thank you. Okay, all right, so we may be having some issues there in POTO. Strong thunderstorm moving through, so it doesn't surprise me necessarily that we're having some signal issues there with that camera that sits on top of the hospital. We'll work to get that back engaged. Fort Smith, Van Buren, Alma, Uniontown, Cedarville, good soaking heavy rain now moving through the area. Nothing severe at the moment. This cell, though, is going to be tracking towards the northeast, and even if the rotation weakens enough that the warning for the tornado is canceled, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see a severe thunderstorm warning extended downstream into Crawford County, just given the fact that this is probably producing a little bit of winds out there right now. Let's go back to our velocity tracker. What is that rotation doing right now? It's broad. Will you remind me when this warning was set to expire?
The tornado warning is set to expire at, let's see here, 1:45.
1:45, and the current time's 1:38.
Yeah.
So I suspect what's happening right now is the Weather Service is kind of just figuring out what's going on. What are we going to do? What's this thing tracking like? When I look at the rotation track, so this isn't a line of rotation necessarily. This is just rotation over the last hour. You can see clearly we had two primary concerns. Here's the one that moved out of Stigler, and it was tight at times. Moved over into Sequoyah County near Vian, now kind of falling apart as it moves towards Marble City. The second one started to spin up. We almost caught that in real time near Keota. That track has taken it between Salisaw and Muldrow right now. It's going to be primarily towards the north of I-40.
There is another area I want to point out to you, Smithville, technically just outside of our viewing area. There is a tornado warning there. If that one started to spin once again, that next warning may include parts of southern LeFlore County, if not work its way into potentially Scott County, depending where they draw that next warning at.
Yeah, right now it looks like they've been drawing a lot of these warnings pretty small, just given the storm speeds are relatively small, but Stephen's talking about this cell right here. It is technically just outside of our viewing area, south of LeFlore County. Here's Smithville. That track would take that area of rotation over towards Mena, Hatfield. They're in Polk County, P-O-L-K, and as Stephen pointed out, on that northwesterly track, it might take that cell into Scott County. We're talking an hour or two from now, just given how slow these storms are spinning and moving. So I wouldn't necessarily feel there's a need for immediate concern in Mena or even Scott County, but certainly something we'll want to watch closely for you. Stephen, thank you for pointing that out. I haven't seen a whole lot of hail with any of these cells today. I've seen a lot of wind and a little bit of rotation at times. Here you'll notice as we take a look into some of those velocities there, 30, 32, okay, so not necessarily super concerning. We get up to about 40 or so. You're looking a ways away from the radar, so some of that data might be of lower quality than what we would hope for if it was perhaps in Fort Smith. You know, we'd have a really good view of that. Looks like a new severe thunderstorm warning now popping up for Polk County. That's going to be Mena. Who else?
Yeah, it also includes parts of Sebastian County as well. What's happening here is we're in between two National Weather Service offices. So the National Weather Service at Little Rock, I'm assuming is going to draw the rest of Scott County in there as
Probably
well.
so.
But basically what you have is just a sliver of southern Sebastian County, including this new severe thunderstorm warning. More than likely here in the next few minutes, Scott County is going to be included as well.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. We'll probably see that leading edge of that line segment there producing some 50 to 60 mile per hour winds. That's what that new warning is for. If we're talking southern LeFlore, Polk County, and soon southern Sebastian County also as well. Wouldn't be surprised, as Stephen said, if Weather Service out of Little Rock, who takes care of all of us here in Scott County, adds a portion there. Looks like we have a new severe thunderstorm warning. This one for Poto. That's going to cross the state line. Also includes Spiro, and now includes Fort Smith, portions of Greenwood, Hackett. Looks like that also extends now into Crawford County as well. Here's going to be the leading edge of that line. Let's zoom out. We can see the entirety of this warning collectively. It looks like it's going to be for a good chunk of that cell right there. It's going to be the winds that are our primary concern, at least as of right now.
That tornado warning is going to be allowed to expire.
Good news. Okay, that tornado warning for Sequoyah County, as that rotation is persistently weakened, is going to be allowed to expire. What time was that? That was 1:45?
1:45, so
Okay.
just 2 minutes early.
Okay, so folks up in the booth, you got about 2 or 3 minutes, and then we're going to take folks back to regular programming on Channel 5. Our coverage will continue on 5+, our free mobile app.
Well, now we're pointing out a different area of circulation. This is
Okay.
going to be for Shady Point. We were keeping an eye on there, on that area that you were just talking about 10 minutes ago.
Okay.
Starting to see some circulation tightening up there as well.
Okay, let's, maybe we're not going to go back to regular programming. Maybe Mother Nature has other plans for us this afternoon. Let's work our way up and down this line. Make sure we're not, oops, wrong button. Make sure we're not seeing anything that's trying to get its act together. All the way up and down. Look at debris. Just want to double check something. Okay, new tornado warning, or is that, no, it's the old one, still the old one. Just needs to pop off the screen here real quick. Let me go back. In this area, this is the warning that they're going to allow to expire. That's what they say anyways. I don't know. Something may be happening there. Okay, there's the warning. It has been allowed to expire. It's been replaced with the severe thunderstorm warning. Weather Service indicating that rotation has since fallen below the limits in which you would need to continue a tornado warning. Let's check for ourselves. Looking at a few different things. Some weak rotation there. Yep.
Nope.
Oh, sorry. As I look at me, I thought you were going to have something to pass along. Yeah, that's a little bit concerning.
The National Weather Service is pointing out that that rotation that they're following near Shady Point, the folks who just heard the community called out, it is very weak right now, not very tight rotation. They are just continuing with that severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible tag. It's just an area of rotation they're keeping their eye on.
Yeah, I think what gave me a little concern here, I'll just kind of walk through it, and I don't panic as I say this out loud. There is what would appear to be a debris signature right here. I think the Weather Service, though, is telling us that's the radar playing a little bit of a trick. They think that would be the inflow notch. And so when we look at reflectivity, which is just rain mode, big O 50-cent way of saying rain mode, you would probably find some evidence that Blackjack community there, north of Muldrow. I don't know. That's a signature that I didn't necessarily expect to see, nor do I like to see it. Okay, so let's do this. Let's stay here on Channel 5 for a couple more minutes. I want to get you back to programming. The last thing I want to do is take away whatever you were watching here this afternoon. But we need to go ahead and stick with this for just a quick few more minutes. Make sure nothing tries to spin up. Our coverage is going to continue online as it always does. So if you're watching us on traditional television here this afternoon and you want to track these storms with us, we invite you to. We hope you do. 5+ is where to do it. You can text the word plus to 479-785-5000, and that'll send you some instructions on how to download that. Of course, our 5 News mobile app, as well as 5newsonline.com. I think we did have some issues with Facebook earlier. I don't know if those got resolved. I apologize. I'm going to get to the bottom of that. I'll guarantee you that I'll get to the bottom of that. Hopefully those are resolved. If not, I'll figure out how to fix that in the future. I think the one thing that we know is the storms are going to continue for the next several minutes. Right now, our watch goes through 5 o'clock. I think we've got a little bit longer. That's going to be kind of a longer afternoon as these cells are not moving very quickly at all. outflow event, southwest spiral, Muldrow, Marble City. Let's do this. Let's reset to our watches. Our watches and warnings currently look like this. Green, of course, is going to be our flood watch. We're going to see some flooding. I'm afraid, given how slow these are moving, how quick that these cells are not moving. They're slow. They've dumped a lot of rain. It's been pretty wet over the last couple of days. Yellow is our tornado watch. Now includes Washington and Crawford. Sequoyah, of course, those 3 counties, and Ada, so I should say those 4 counties were added a little bit later. Initially, of course, it was LaFleur, Sebastian, Scott, and Logan County. Those 4 counties were added a little bit later, so you're in that watch until 5 o'clock this evening. We don't have any current active tornado warnings. I'm not necessarily super comfortable right now based off of a couple of things I'm seeing. This area of rotation near Salisaw, yeah, it's weaker. But yeah, it's there. It's there enough that I'm not super comfortable necessarily at the moment dropping our coverage, at least off of channel 5. I'm going to keep it there for just a little bit longer. We look back in this other cell that was producing a lot of tornado warnings. This one cell, it's now moved well out of the area. Not going to be a concern for us there. Looking back into, let's say, southwest of Poto, north of Poto, I should say. Certainly a wind signature there. I mean, goodness gracious. Tahona right there near Williams, Cameron, Shady Point. Let me look at some of that signature. The winds are going to be really breezy with that one. So there's 30, 30, consistently right around 30, 20 to 30. Okay. A gusty burst of winds moving towards Cameron and Rock Island, Williams there as well. That warning does extend into Crawford and southern Sebastian County.
National Weather Service.
Yeah, I knew it.
Yeah.
That's that rotation. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what we've got going on. Rotation's not enough for them to issue a warning. Here's brushy, but the inflow into the cell has been increasing near Aikens, Seven Oaks, Maple, and eventually into Bellefonte. That just means it's reorganizing. The cell, while right now is not strong enough to prompt a tornado warning, it's still a cell that is producing some rotation and is starting to pick back up. It had been weakening. It does appear that rotation is starting to come together a little bit more. So I need to go ahead and give this a couple more minutes. I really do want to get you back to programming. I really want to do that. But right now, I just can't. I got to be here for the folks in Aikens, Bellefonte, Salisaw, and Brushy. That's where that rotation would be. We'll look at it on the rotation tracker. What does it show us? It's broad, but there is a weak area of rotation there nonetheless. Getting ready to pass Oklahoma 101. That would be moving towards the northeast. So Bellefonte would be next in line. Brushy certainly comes close to us right there. What it looks like on rain mode is very messy. It would be tough to see just about anything at all. Maybe some semblance of a really weak inflow region right here in that general vicinity. Rotation, though, would be really broad in this area that I've just circled right there. That pushes northeast towards Bellefonte, close to the Oklahoma-Arkansas state line. Uniontown perhaps would be next in line for that, but that's a ways away. That's a really ways away. Let's see here. Got a text from Crawford County Emergency Management. Good afternoon to you folks. You're doing the Lord's work. We're going to be here for you folks in Crawford County should that cell continue to track your direction. Right now it's severe thunderstorm warned. Yeah, it's a little bit of spin right there. A little bit of spin. I got to give this a couple more scans. Let me just do this. Stephen, what's the track on that severe thunderstorm warning? The speed?
The severe thunderstorm warning that goes out for 20 miles per hour. So again, these thunderstorms, I mean, the 2 tornado warnings that we did have were decreased from 35 down to 20. And then each severe thunderstorm warning that we've gotten since then has only been for 20 miles per hour as well. These thunderstorms feels like we've been talking about the same areas constantly, just because they are moving at an absolute snail's pace right now.
At that snail's pace, it would take it at the New Hope Church area here in about 5 minutes. Remy also in about 5 minutes. Bellefonte at 2:03. Short 2:13. New Home Church at 2:17. Uniontown, which is not currently included in any tornado warning, but a severe thunderstorm warning nonetheless. They're at 2:19. Barcelona 2:22. Cedarville 227. Cedarville right now just included in our severe thunderstorm warning. There's no actual tornado warnings at all. Natural day in there at 231. A little bit of rotation. It's weak, it's broad. It's got to watch it. Got to watch it really closely. Here it is. So winds green are blowing towards the Fort Smith radar, reds blowing in the opposite direction, and so you can see where they start to match up. That's where we start to see some of that spin. It's disorganized at the moment, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it might not pulse back up over the next couple of minutes. I'm really trying to get you folks back to programming. Should that be the case, we're going to continue tracking these severe thunderstorm warnings on 5+ as well as online on all of our platforms there as well. Let's do this. It's been a second since I've reset area wide. I wanted to do that for the folks that might not be dealing with severe thunderstorms but are dealing with a little bit of rain, specifically northwest Arkansas. Not a lot of a severe weather potential there at the moment. But heavy rain continuing to move into the area, slow moving, soaking heavy rain. So that's where we're going to start to see some flooding concerns. If you look on to the left side of your screen, that purple polygon or maroon polygon there, that's a flood warning. And I suspect as this line continues to progress through the area, we'll probably end up seeing a couple of those move into our neck of the woods, just given how much rain. New tornado warning. I knew it was going to happen. That's why we stayed here for you. New tornado warning for Sequoyah County now popping up on the map right here. This is going to be just to the northeast of Sallisaw. Here's Aikens. You're included in that new tornado warning just to the west of Bellefonte. So Bellefonte not currently included in it. Rotation looks just like this. You can clearly see where that has come together. That brand new scan that prompted that warning right now along Oklahoma 101 outside of Aikens, right on top of Aikens, I should say, east of Brushy. So Brushy, you're not technically, at least whatever you would consider downtown Brushy, not included in that warning center part of the community anyways. But if you live on the east side of Brushy, you certainly are included in that specific warning. We're going to take a tighter look. Let's put up some roads. Where is this rotation right now? We're going to go even closer, as close as I can get us right now along 101. There's a lot of numerically named roads out there. 1050 to name one, 4670 is another, 1020, 1030, 4695. Those roads there in Sequoyah County. New tornado warning runs until what time, Stephen?
2:30, and it's still moving at 20 miles per hour.
2:30, still moving at 20 miles per hour. So we're going to back up several clicks here. We're going to put this in a position that we can put a good track on it for you. New warning does not include Crawford or Adair. It's specifically confined to Sequoyah County at the moment. Rotation was coming back up, and it appears that it is trying to get its act back together. It had weakened, and I just wasn't comfortable letting it go. That's why we stayed here for you. Copic Church 217, Copic Slab 218, Oak Ridge School there at 234. That assumes that cell maintains its current track and trajectory and its current speed. We'll take a look here. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Okay, whatever. Bump this back up. I'm curious what some of our Fort Smith cameras are showing. Here's what it looks like on rain mode. It's going to be just tough to see really anything. I'm just confident. Yeah, I mean, that rain is going to be so, that rotation is going to be so rain wrapped right here that you're just not going to be able to see anything at all. Rotation seemingly coming up with the other product, maybe seeing a pixel, a really small pixel there in Aikens, telling us that rain is likely obscuring our view just a little bit. Not seeing any hail out there. Do we have any chaser reports? No, they would pop up on my map there. We go back to our velocity signature. This is the way we can tell whether or not that storm's spinning or not. And that rotation consistently come up over the last couple of scans. Could be some high winds there, but I think the rotation is going to be our primary concern, at least as of this moment there in Aikens as this crosses 101 as we speak. Soon that's going to be moving up to Reeder Ford. West of Uniontown. Uniontown is not currently included in the warning, nor is anybody other than these folks right here in this polygon in Sequoyah County. We'll have to see what this thing does upstream. Downstream, I should say. Looks like there's some pretty healthy inflow into that specific cell. Okay, let's do this. Mercy, Fort Smith on Rogers Avenue is pointed towards the west. I don't think I see anything from my tiny little picture, but if we could pull up Mercy Fort Smith on Rogers Avenue, that will give me a chance to look off towards the west there. We might be able to see a little bit into that cell. Okay. No, I wouldn't expect to, just to be quite frank, just given how much rain, and of course you really just can't see anything, but we're looking in that general trajectory, that general direction where if that rain wasn't there, we'd probably be able to see something out there. Okay, let's go back to live radar, please. Concern right here, I'm going to circle it for you, near Aikens. Rotation's moving really slowly at about 20 miles per hour, which means this cell is just not moving quick at all. That does give you a little bit of time.
You want to check out chat real quick?
Okay, let's hold off on that. Noted, though. Thank you. Let's hold off on that. Let me pull back here. Look at our debris signature. We'll come in closer. Do we have anything on the ground? Just not seeing debris right there at this moment. Not to say that there couldn't have been something quickly, but I'll tell you, I don't see anything there. In fact, I'll tell you that report is outside of the warning polygon, far removed from the actual area of rotation. So I'm not quite sure I have a lot of stock in that. We'll see. Warning continues, though, for portions of northeastern Sequoyah County. Does not include Sallisaw or Muldrow. Not this one. You've certainly been included in your fair share of warnings this afternoon. This one is moving towards the northeast. The cell's moving rather slowly at about 20 or so miles per hour. It does have a bit of an interesting structure there to it. You can kind of see that little hook on the backside of it. It's not necessarily a typical supercell setup. This is what we call quasi-linear convective systems. That's the big 50-cent word. I just like to call them squall lines. That's what we call them around these parts. And that is what the primary concern is. It's going to be the leading edge of these of this line segment. I saw that, Stephen. Thank you there in chat. But this back cell here, seemingly trying to take a little bit more of a linear, excuse me, a little bit more of an isolated, discrete appearance to it. And that's going to be of a little bit concern to us, especially as that rotation just continues to strengthen right there. This is going to be just to the east of Brushy right now, crossing 101, Oklahoma 101. Here's Old Stagecoach Road. Here's 4679, 1023, 2740 there as well. I'm going to go back into our debris tracker. There is a little bit of a messy signature right there. That would be around where that rotation would be. I'm going to back this up for the last 15 minutes, see if that's moving at all. Yeah, I don't know. What I'm looking at here is this signature right here, which is around where you would expect that rotation to be. So when you start to see some messy signals like that, you might have had a little bit of leaf litter, some small twigs, things of that nature lofted, but I think it's removed enough from the actual rotation signature that I'm not ready to call that a tornado on the ground just yet. I do think the supercell, if it's not producing a tornado at the moment, very well could at any moment. In fact, as you look at just the radar presentation alone, you start to see this kind of this comma head, this more supercellular structure right here. That's a little bit different than what we've seen for the last several hours as that line moved in. We were looking at quick embedded spin-ups along that line. That was primarily what we were seeing. This one, though, maybe trying to break apart. You can kind of see that classic, or well, I don't want to call it classic, but more in the line of a classic signature that you would potentially expect to see maybe out in a more traditional tornado setup. Right here's Brushy. Right here's Bellefonte, strong area of rotation. There are some storm trackers out there. They are sending some reports to us. I've got some questions with regard to what they're saying, so I'm not going to repeat that until I get better confidence that it's quality data. But it does look like there may be at times, could see some rotation quickly spinning up. Perhaps even possibly you got some wall clouds and some funnels out there with that specific thing. I've not seen the debris, at least as we can see on Doppler radar. To the extent I'm ready to call it a tornado on the ground, we very well could be looking at something very soon based off kind of what we're seeing right here. We'll go in tighter here, we'll go back to our velocity, our wind speeds. Rotation's coming together. It's definitely coming together right there. Looks like we have a new severe thunderstorm warning. Let me back out a little bit. We'll get that. That's going to include portions of Adair in Sequoyah County again. This one's going to include Greasy. It's also going to include Brushy as well. That severe thunderstorm warning does have a tornado possible tag on it as well. That's a step below a severe thunderstorm, tornado warning. It's kind of right between the severe thunderstorm and tornado warning. That tracks towards the northeast, towards Greasy, Cherry Tree. When it comes to rotation within that specific cell, obviously you can see there might be a little bit right here, but it's not. The obvious part is it's not near as strong as it is right here. That tornado warning has been trimmed for a little bit of us. That cell continues to slowly crawl at a snail's pace up towards the northeast. The track on that, still at 20 miles per hour, Stephen, is that correct? I'm just going to go with that until you tell me otherwise.
20 miles per hour.
Perfect. So lowest I can go is about 25, which just gives you a little bit earlier heads up here. Would push it into Coppic Church 215, Oak Ridge School 232, Elm Ridge Church at 243, 247 for Evansville, assuming it doesn't speed up or slow down, which would be some good news if it would just dissipate entirely. Right now, though, it's kind of coming back together. Rotation's a little bit more pronounced than it was earlier this afternoon. When that warning was initially allowed to expire, and then it pulsed back up, new warning issued on account for that. You can see just from a broad perspective that rotation is the strongest one we've got. It's not the only severe storm we've got out there though this afternoon. In fact, let's do an area-wide reset while we're waiting on new data for our friends in Sequoyah County. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning that now extends from Adair County through Sequoyah, Crawford, Sebastian, and there are multiple severe thunderstorm warnings that are covering the eastern half of LaFleur County. Damaging straight line winds up to about 60 miles per hour would be the primary concern with those specific cells there. The only area of rotation that we've detected over the last couple of minutes is going to be here in Sequoyah County. It's so easy to pick out even from the big picture. You almost don't even have to zoom in. You can just see it right there as that goes into northern Sequoyah County between Brushy and Bellefonte. There's your spin right there. And you'll notice those colors are getting a little bit brighter. That tells us winds are picking up. Area of concern continues to be there in that circled area. New data comes in that did not weaken any at all. That specific scan. Yep.
Yeah, so National Weather Service just talking about that newest scan, basically saying that it's stationary right now. I mean, we were talking about how slow these have been moving, but it's moving into northern Sequoyah County. That CC is stationary, like you're talking about, trying to pick up some type of debris. Overall, though, it's such a slow pace that they're trying to pick up on that data as well.
It looks like the terrain there might also be kind of slowing us down just a bit as we get a little bit more elevation, but these are not moving quick at all. I mean, they've been moving so slow most of the afternoon. Now we add a little bit of elevation. We're kind of running up into it. I suspect that probably is going to influence that cell. The question is does it weaken it? Does it intensify it? We're going to be here tracking it for you until the threat passes. When you look at it on this radar rain mode, you can clearly see that little hook right there. It's a bookend vortex is what you would call that. Just to the west of Bellefonte, it's pretty common to get little areas of spin to develop in bookend vortexes like that. If you're to look in this general vicinity right here, hold your eye right there. You got it? You got it? Hold your eye to it. Let me turn on velocity. And that, of course, is the exact area where you find that rotation. So that's kind of matching up exactly where you would expect it to be. Let's go back and look at our debris tracker. If this is going to be able to pinpoint whether or not we've seen actually debris lofted into the air. I'm not seeing anything that stands out necessarily. What I would be looking for are several tightly packed blue pixels. And that's the radar's way of saying, hey, dude, there's something up here at our beam level that shouldn't be here. It's not rain, it's not hail, it's not precipitation. It's things that shouldn't be there, and it's kind of sticking out. I don't see that here right now. That's not to say we might not have a brief touchdown here or there. I think the tornado rotation alone is concerning enough that if a tornado isn't happening, one could be imminent at any moment. Here in northern Sequoyah County, rotation is now past north of Oklahoma 101 between Brushy and Bellefonte, slowing down even slower than it already was moving earlier. That is moving towards the northeast, though, so at some point the Weather Service may have to consider an additional warning for Adair County. The question is, does that also end up including portions of northwestern western Crawford County. We'll have to wait to see what they determined for that one specifically. Our severe thunderstorm warning will continue for Sebastian and Crawford County, just for the potential of some winds. And you can clearly see that leading line segment right there. When I just turn on wind mode alone, right here is probably where you'd expect some really breezy winds to be moving in, likely in addition to some moderate to heavy rainfall there as well, getting ready to cross out of Oklahoma into western Arkansas. We had a little bit of flooding a couple of days ago there in the Fort Smith area. We've added a little bit of rain since then with additional rounds of rain and storms, so I'm not going to be surprised if, especially in some of those low-lying areas that are more prone to flooding in Fort Smith, you know where they are, we probably are going to end up seeing some of that. Strong storm moving through Pensacola, Rock Island, 60-mile-per-hour winds capable with that specific cell. I'm not finding anything that stands out as rotation with it right now. That concerns me, at least as of this moment. Nothing that warrants a warning for rotation. You look into southern LaFleur County, I will say east of Heavener's a little bit of a signature. That's soon going to move into Scott County. Yeah, it's not the strongest, but maybe a little signature right there. Not imminently concerned with anything. Let's watch that off air. We get into southern LaFleur. We did have a tornado warning for Smithville earlier. That's south of LaFleur County there, McCurtain, I believe. That warning has since been allowed to be dropped and replaced with just a severe thunderstorm warning. Right now, our only tornado warning continues for Sequoyah County. We're looking at increasing area of rotation. This storm has had a life cycle in which it was strengthening quickly. I think this one began near Keota. It did weaken as it moved through Muldrow, but now it's certainly increasing once more in intensity and in terms of actual rotation. The winds within this cell picking up, and they're kind of co-located exactly where you would expect them to be. When you just look at the rain mode, you can kind of see, okay, some new data coming in, you can kind of see a little bit of a hook or a little bit of an appendage there. Looks like we're taking lightning strikes here at the station. This is our big giant tower, just for some context, is about, let's say, 50 or 60 feet from where I'm standing outside. So if you see our screens flickering, that's just some lightning hitting us here at the station. It's no problem though. Looks like we have a new severe thunderstorm warning. Is that a new one there?
I believe they're just updating it.
Okay, it's just flashing. Is it updated?
The update for it is picking up in speed a little bit from 20 up to 30 mile per hour.
Okay. There's the rotation though. Here's going to be Bellefonte right here. Coppic Slab is going to be the community that's next in line. This looks like Rock Fence Road. Am I getting that correctly? Yeah, Rock Fence Road. That's going to be where that cell is going to cross here probably in the next 20 or 30 minutes. It's moving slow. Thankfully, it is picking up some speed, as Stephen has pointed out. But this is where your rotation would be right there. Let's go back to our rotation tracker. It still maintains that right there, that blue. It's kind of messy, but it's certainly co-locating with where our winds are rotating. We look into the debris tracker. Are we finding anything that stands out? No. I don't know. I want to look at that. Joshua, are you over on Analyst?
Yeah, looking at that debris tool that we have on Analyst, there's a little sloppy area, but to me, it looks like it may be some interference on the surface,
okay.
But we're not really seeing any sort of large area that would be enough to at least tell me that there's something on the ground.
Okay. Thank you for looking at that. I was curious what it appeared as over there. Current time, 2:10. We do have a tornado warning in effect for Sequoyah County. Numerous severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for Adair, Crawford, Sebastian, Sequoyah, LaFleur counties there as well. Right now of 60-mile-per-hour winds. Our tornado warning is the only one that we've got and has consistently had a little bit of rotation. That latest scan tells me that might be weakening just a bit. It's not as organized as it was the last time we looked at it. Storm forward motion's picking up a little bit of speed. Here's going to be Highway 4745 or South 4745 Road, Coppic Slab right there. That community, if you're familiar with where that is, it's going to be to the north of Bellefonte, north of 101 there. That's where your rotation's likely passing right now. It would be rather tough to see where that is, because you'll notice all of that red and orange right there. That tells us some moderate to heavy rainfall, if not even a little bit of small hail at times, likely passing through that part of the area. When it comes to the rain over the last couple of, well, let's say last 12 hours, you've picked up a decent amount, an inch there. Let's do here about a ½ inch. Bellefonte radar estimates that you've received about a ½ inch there. Looks like some of the higher totals just up towards the west, which would indicate to us a little more than an inch or so. So even if you get a little bit of gusty, breezy winds, given the fact that the ground is so saturated out there, that might be enough to start pushing over a little bit of trees, some smaller trees that are weaker, of course, just given the wind potential, 40 to 60 mile per hour. That's probably going to be common for us. Here's the warning, the tornado warning itself. We'll take all the clutter off there. It's just going to be for the area here in red. Here's Highway 101. That's going to be tracking all the way up to the Adair Sequoyah County line. Rock Fence Road looks to be running almost parallel with that county line right there. That would track over into Adair County, perhaps even portions of northwestern Pensacola.
Pensacola, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I want to look into Pensacola here. We'll have to go big first, and then we'll come back into LaFleur County. Here's Pensacola. Winds are picking up. I think that's the big concern. But there could be some developing circulation near Pensacola. Let me look at velocity. Let me see that from a little bit different picture. Yeah, I think there may be something trying, but we've kind of seen that same signature back towards Worcester, and it never really materialized. We'll watch it closely. I do
This
think
is the same area.
Is it the same one?
This is what tracked through Worcester, what tracked through Shady Point, and now eventually just moving up towards Pensacola. It's an area of rotation that the National Weather Service has been keeping an eye on. They're saying it's so weak that it's not enough to issue a tornado warning, but just reminding us again that this is still an area that every once in a while the signature that it puts off is somewhat concerning, but not enough to issue a new tornado warning.
Got it. Okay, good to know. Let's keep an eye on that as it moves into Pensacola. Weak enough that it's not an imminent tornado potential, but some broad rotation nonetheless. When you look at it on radar, a very strong cell, definitely moving into Pensacola. The heavy rain. Here's Braden. Here's Papa. Here's going to be Arcoma. Great emergency managers there in Arcoma, doing really good work out there. I'm confident this afternoon, and that's going to be crossing into the Sebastian County side of things here really soon. We're talking the south side of Fort Smith. If you know where our Doppler radar site is, south of the Fort Smith Regional Airport there, this is kind of, we're looking really close into that. So with 1 degree, we're probably going to get some good sampling of those winds as they continue to pass into the area. Before I go back to our tornado warning, I want to look one more time. Yeah, I kind of see it. Goodness gracious, it's weak, persistently weak though. Right there towards the northeast, that would bring some weak rotation into the south side of Fort Smith should that continue on its current track. Let's hope it just doesn't actually strengthen into anything. I'm afraid though that it possibly could, and that is why we have a tornado watch in effect until 5 o'clock here this evening. When you look at everything here on radar mode, heavy rain now moving into portions of Benton, Washington. Most of Crawford County is getting a good soaking rain. There's some spotty to scattered showers and thunderstorms. Amanda, I saw your note. Thank you for sending that picture in. There in Ozark. That's scattered, nothing severe at the moment. A really messy picture as this line continues to slowly but surely work its way our direction. You got to kind of really look for the needle in the haystack when it comes to that specific tornado warning. Right now, it's getting really close to that actual Sequoyah Adair County line. In fact, that warning is either going to have to be redrawn up, extended. They're going to have to do something with it here relatively quickly, because it looks like we're going to run over into southeastern Sequoyah County, perhaps even northwestern Crawford over the next couple of minutes. That cell has been picking up a little bit of speed. Some rotation still appearingly north Sequoyah County, now north of Bellefonte. If you're looking from Cherry Tree or Greasy, anywhere there in Adair County, you'd be looking off towards the south there. Rotation would be really tough to pinpoint simply because we do have quite a bit of rain with that specific cell there. Here's where it would be. To me, that signature looks more like a damaging wind signature than an actual imminent tornado threat. Doesn't mean it might not reorganize into something, but that's kind of pushing off towards the northeast there, right around 20 to 25 miles per hour. So Oak Ridge School at 2:30. That's what pops up on our maps there in terms of who would be next in line for that specific cell. Back to rain mode, what we're going to find is that cell is quickly getting attacked together. I do want to do this though.
So they're going to continue that tornado warning circulation tightening up again there in Adair.
So we'd expect a new warning to be popping up here for Adair County. As that rotation is continuing there. When you look into Cedarville, here's Uniontown, back towards Van Buren. The leading edge of this line, there's no rotation on this segment here, but there's probably some gusty winds coming out of that. We're talking 50 to 60 mile per hour would be probably on the high end. You can kind of see that differentiating line right there along 59. That's probably where you would find those gusty winds, potentially producing a little bit of damage. When you look at the hail potential coming into Crawford and Sebastian counties, it looks like I can pinpoint if I'm cherry picking. I can cherry pick a little bit of a hailstone right there, pea size, so not necessarily of severe magnitude. That begins at quarter size, which is 1 inch in diameter. While we're waiting on that new tornado warning to come in, which should be here any second. Weather Service is telling us they're drawing it up. I do want to work my way back into Fort Smith, down south here. A good soaking heavy rain. You're probably hearing a little bit of thunder out there. Not seeing as much lightning with these cells, but you're probably seeing enough of it out there that it is loud. It's probably going to be alarming. We've watched this potential for a little bit of rotation near Pensacola. We'll go back into that, make sure nothing else is happening there. Maybe a bit of a weak signal, but certainly still below.
So that new tornado warning's out now. It includes parts of Adair, parts of Washington, parts of Crawford County.
Okay. I was curious how far they would draw it, and they drew that one a lot further than the rest of them. So let's see.
This is out for moving at 25 miles per hour. It goes out until 3 p.m., so about a 40-minute warning.
Okay, so the Sequoyah County Sheriff has not received any damage reports as of right now. That's some good news for us. This does include northwestern Crawford County. We are in communication with the Crawford County emergency management officials there. They've been watching this cell as it was moving through Sequoyah County, knowing it very well could track up into the northwest part of their county. Southeastern Adair County also included with this new tornado warning that's just now been issued. Here's the area of concern, a little bit of a hook right there. Not that you would want to necessarily look for a hook in a type of setup like this, but it is interestingly enough there, and that's also where you would find the rotation. And you can see that, ignore those, you can see that the rotation's there, not as pronounced as it has been, but persistently there. We look at the debris tracker. Joshua, you see anything on Analyst? To me, that doesn't look like a debris signature. It's very messy, but just want to check in with Joshua real quick.
Yeah, and I've been looking at that over on the analyst tool behind the scenes here, and still not really seeing anything that would indicate that maybe it was on the ground. It's kind of hard to see because we do have a little area, but there were a couple pixels that were there. The previous scan, maybe some terrain interference. It's not quite co-located, but if this were to continue and expand, maybe this may be of concern, but right now I'm going to hold off on any concern just because that's in that area where there's a little bit more ground or geographical interference that it may be causing that reading, but right now not quite sure that's co-located enough.
Okay, fantastic. Stephen, how fast is this one moving?
This was moving at 30 miles per hour.
Okay, so we're picking up a little bit of speed. Let's put a new track on this now that we have a new severe...
Excuse me, 25.
Okay, 25. So about the same, a little bit faster than it was at some points. I'm going to draw this not from where the heavy rain is. I'm going to put a track on here from where the actual rotation is, and you move that towards the north and east. Oak Ridge School at 231. New Center Point Church, 247. We'll come in a little bit closer here, see if we can't get some more roads and some more local landmarks and communities that you might be familiar with to pop up. So what we're talking about is Arkansas Highway 59 runs right here. This rotation is definitively going to be tracking right across Highway 59. That's likely going to be just to the north of Uniontown. We'll back up a little bit here. I'll kind of show you where that is. So here's Natural Dam, not currently included in the warning. Rotation's not far from me though, not far from from Lee Creek as well. Kind of work your way up a little bit. And of course, that warning does extend into southwestern Washington County as well. So if you're in Washington County and you just received a tornado warning, you do have a supercell that's kind of embedded within a larger line segment that has persistently produced a little bit of rotation. Now that rotation is in southeastern Adair County. We're tracking it towards the northeast, which brings portions of northwestern Crawford County, southwestern Washington County in that specific tornado warning, which is set to run, I believe, until 3 o'clock. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I think I saw that come
3
through the
o'clock,
wire.
yes.
3 o'clock. So we go back into the winds. Rotation's there, continues to be right there, but I'll tell you, it's not the most pronounced area of rotation I've ever seen, but I do think we have a little bit of spin within that storm right there specifically. Let's do this. Let me see, which camera do I want? I don't want any of them. It's fine. That's the only tornado warning at the moment. The warned cell has now moved out of Sequoyah County. So we'll see this other warning polygon fall off the map here real soon. The area of rotations right now in Adair County. It will clip portions of northwestern Crawford before moving into southwestern Washington County. If you go back into the River Valley, Fort Smith, right now you are seeing a strong thunderstorm, but there's no actual imminent tornado threat in the Fort Smith or River Valley area. You got a good old soaking rain. There at times has been some pockets of rotation near Pensacola. That pocket of rotation actually extended back as far south as Worcester earlier, and we've been keeping an eye on it, but it's just never really matured into anything of concern. You probably are kind of surprised or alarmed when you hear, oh, there's rotation, but there's no warning. Well, here's the thing, rotation is pretty common. You would probably be surprised to learn that there's weak rotation, happens all the time, but weak rotation in the mid-levels of the atmosphere really rarely ever produces anything, and never produces anything when it's at that level. So that's why there's not as much alarm as you would expect with that specific cell there. Rotation nonetheless, we watch it just to make sure nothing's changing or pulsing up. These showers and storms over the last hour continue to slowly but surely track off towards the east-northeast. The severe aspect is going to be the leading edge of this line. Certainly some moderate to heavy rain continues back off towards the west, and that will be moving into the area as well. So it's going to be a wet afternoon, probably a sloppy commute home, but in terms of severe weather, expect it to be on the leading edge of this line. Once the worst passes you, you're probably going to be in fine shape when it comes to severe weather. I want to go back into our tornado warning here. I mean, there's a consistent little bookend vortex right there. The rotation, it's there. Here's Evansville, included in this tornado warning. If you're in Evansville, we need you to go and take those safety precautions. We're looking just to the west of Lee Creek, which while Lee Creek is close to the warning, not technically included in it. Look at the winds a little bit different way, not really getting a lot out of that. So that's some good news. We look at the rotation detector alone. You can see it. It's right there, southeast Adair County. That's going to continue pushing off slowly. Right now, the elevation there is probably interfering with this storm just a little bit as we get into some terrain that storm's going to have to navigate. Tornado watch, it technically goes until 5 o'clock tonight. I know that time up on the right was wrong, but 5 o'clock tonight for a lot of us. I do suspect our eastern Oklahoma counties will probably be canceled sooner than that. That doesn't mean the threat's near over with, though. That's unfortunate for us. Looks like some high winds in Polk County, P-O-L-K. That's going to be near Mena. Probably some gusty straight line winds coming through that area. Our warning for southern LaFleur, that was a severe thunderstorm warning, has since been allowed to cancel. So it really looks like we're looking at only a handful of overall warnings right now. You can see that severe thunderstorm warning includes portions of Adair County, as does the tornado warning itself. You do get a good chunk of western Crawford County from Alma back over towards the state line, as well as eastern Sequoyah County. That's also under a severe thunderstorm warning. 60-mile-per-hour winds is the reason that warning has been issued. And in portions of northeastern LaFleur, western Sebastian County, especially the south side of Fort Smith. That's where that leading edge of that line is likely moving through right now. Wind would be our primary concern. Secondary to that, flooding. I do think we're seeing quite a bit of rain come out of this as well. We'll go ahead and take another look at our debris tracker. I don't think we're going to see anything necessarily with that, but yeah, I'm not seeing anything where that rotation is that would indicate to me that there's anything on the ground. Not to say there couldn't be at some point, but right now I'm not seeing anything that just absolutely stands out to me, at least as of this moment. Rotation, though, is there. We're looking at extreme southeastern Adair County. In the next, let's say, 5 to 10 minutes, it's going to be moving north of Uniontown, right there intersecting 59. So we're about 4 to 5 miles outside of Uniontown. That will be crossing over Arkansas 59 there in northwestern Crawford County. Rotation would be right in this general vicinity right here. It's kind of broad. It's not near as tight as it was when they reissued that secondary warning. Let's hope that doesn't tighten back up. These cells have a history of doing just that over the last probably couple of hours. This is part of the normal life cycle of a thunderstorm. They pull us up, they pull us down. Inevitably, they'll either move out of the area or they'll weaken entirely, which would be our hope for the next several minutes. Right now, your rotation, the strongest of which east of 59 in Oklahoma. Is that a new severe thunderstorm
New severe
warning?
thunderstorm warning includes Crawford County and parts of Washington County as well. That one's, let's see here, going out till 3:15. It's for, let's see here, moving at 25 miles per hour.
Okay, goodness, these things are just moving so stinking slow.
They are trimming that tornado warning as well.
Okay.
We're
So we'll
changing something with it.
probably see something fall off here relatively soon. Looks like they canceled Sequoyah County out of it. The tornado warning will continue for Crawford, Adair, and Washington County. So you'll see one of these red boxes fall off the map. The one that is going to continue is for this area of rotation right there. New severe thunderstorm warning now includes Winslow, West Fork, a good chunk of southern Washington County. It also includes Mountainburg. That would include Lee Creek, Uniontown, Cedarville, more than likely there as well. Fort Smith, greater Fort Smith area, strong thunderstorm continues to move into the area. Some scattered thunderstorms out ahead of that line through Franklin, Johnson, Logan counties. Those are not severe. Good old-fashioned thunderstorm in Scott County near Waldron, but that one's not severe there as well. So let's hope that trend continues. Those have been weakening over the last little bit. Right now, our area of most concern is going to be anywhere between Adair County, southern Washington, Crawford County, extending into Sebastian County, in eastern LaFleur County, although I'll tell you, it looks like the threat is really going to be crossing that state line definitively in western Arkansas, likely over the next 2 to 5 minutes.
So you see that little cell that's just east of Watalula in northern Franklin County.
Yeah.
So that's what's called the special weather statement
Sure.
for folks at home. It's a strong storm, just not crossing over the severe limits right now. Wind gusts capable of around 50 miles per hour. So it's a healthy thunderstorm that's out ahead of really the main activity that we have right now.
Okay, excellent. Good to know. We'll watch that right now, non-severe though. That'll be moving into Johnson County here real soon. Let's go back into our rotation tracker, back into Adair County. Guys, I'd welcome some input here, but that rotation is about as broad as I've seen it. I don't want
It's
to
certainly
use the
hard
word,
to find.
I don't want to use the word weak. There's a reason the warning continues, but it's not defined is exactly right. Stephen, it's a good word to say. Don't trust it though. This thing has pulsed up and pulsed down. At one point it weakened enough that the warning was canceled and they just had to reissue it a few minutes later. So I don't necessarily want to let our guard down with it specifically, but our job is to be here until that warning expires. That's my policy. That's why we're going to be here on television. I don't want to cover up your programming. It's the last thing I want to do. I don't even, I don't take it lightly though. We got folks in the path of this storm. We'll continue to be here for everybody until that threat's passed. That rotation now pretty much right on top of the Adair Crawford County line, right on top of 59. It would be in this general vicinity right here where that little inflow notch is. This is called a bookend vortex, and you can see it's kind of the bookend of that line, the top flank, and it kind of vortexes around. There's a little bit of a hooking on the back side of it, and that's a pretty classic place you would potentially see some rotation in a setup like this. So it's not necessarily surprising that that's where you would find the little bit of spin that is there. We're getting really close to 59 there. We're probably about 1 mile to 3 at most, just to the west of Highway 59 that runs into northwestern Crawford County. This is only going to skirt portions of northwestern Crawford County before it entirely moves over into southwestern Washington County. That's going to take a little bit, just given how slow this thing is moving. The latest track on it was at about 25 miles per hour. So from the area of rotation towards the northeast, I'd put it at New Hope Point Church there at 244, Hale Mountain Church 251, Antioch at 252, Morrow at 256, 3 o'clock at the Apostolic Church, Fly Creek Church at 3:01. So not a lot of landmarks necessarily popping up, but I'm confident you're familiar with a lot of those that I did call out. If I did, those are locations that need to be in their tornado safety locations right now, as Doppler radar indicated rotation consistently producing evidence that there could be some reason to be concerned with the potential of a tornado. That seemingly kind of weakening, not near as impressive as it once was when it comes to the hail potential. Not looking at anything with this specific cell right there. We'll work our way down. Do we have any chaser or spotter reports? Not finding anything, not finding damage reports through that area. It is in an environment that is favorable for the development of severe storms. That's why that watch extends until 5 o'clock. That's a tornado watch. Washington, Adair, Sequoyah, LaFleur, Sebastian, Scott, Logan, and Johnson counties as well. Here's what it looks like on radar. That's actually scanned right there. Maybe is a little bit less impressive as it once was. Let's hope that trend continues. That gives me a little bit of comfort, at least for the next scan or two. Let's make sure it doesn't change. We'll see what the latest on the velocities are. There's still an area of rotation. Unfortunately, that's not going to give me as much comfort as I was hoping for.
Yeah, and the normalized rotation on this, it's not significant. We saw it pulse up on that last scan just briefly, but the latest update, it does not look as organized. Still, that area of rotation still visible there. Radar may be trying to hint that there might be another area. Not saying that there's two, but there's a little area to the north that also has a little bit of a normalized rotation just to the south of Evansville.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Actually, when you look at that cell right there, yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. It looks like our severe thunderstorm warning for Sebastian County has been allowed to expire. That was set to expire at 2:30. That has since fallen off the map. So a non-severe thunderstorm continues for a good chunk of the river valley. Watch for those flooding reports to start to come in. I wouldn't be surprised if that's not going to happen over the next few minutes, just given the intensity and the amount of rainfall that's likely going to continue falling for the next little bit. So it looks like at this point we've got two warnings to track for you. One is going to be here in the orange polygon. That's a severe thunderstorm warning. It does include Lincoln, West Fork, Winslow, Mountainburg, Dean Springs, Lee Creek there as well. Our red polygon here, of course, as you well know, that's our tornado warning. That means rotation is strong enough at this point that there very well could be a tornado imminent at any point. Personally, what I'm seeing right there, I don't get any indication that there's anything necessarily on the ground at the moment. That's not to say this thing might not pulse back up. These things very, very well could. Let's hope this continues the trend that it is currently right now. Here's Highway 59. You can see that just to the south of Evansville. In fact, if I bump you down just a little bit, you can see Evansville at the top of the map, just for some context as to kind of what we're looking at. In fact, let's see how far south of Evansville that rotation is. We're talking about 4 miles south of Evansville, now crossing into northwestern Crawford County. It's only going to be there for a few minutes before it tracks over into southwestern Washington County, where that tornado warning is set to continue there. That was 3 o'clock, right?
Yes.
Okay, expiration time of that warning, 3 o'clock. It's possible, though, that this thing could weaken enough that rotation would weaken, in which the warning would be allowed to expire. That would be some really good news for us. At the moment, the tornado warning is allowed to expire. If I've got any confidence that we don't have any additional rotation, I'll take you right back to regular programming, and we'll continue tracking your weather for you over on our streaming platforms. 5 Plus would be a great place to find us there. Just a heads up that may be coming if this continues the weakening trend that it looks to have had over the last couple of minutes. Let's do this. Let's go area wide. So we're just now tuning in, maybe trying to catch up on what's going on. Severe aspects are going to be right here. We're talking Washington, Crawford, extreme southeastern Adair County. That's where we have 1, a tornado warning, 2, a severe thunderstorm warning. Everything else has fallen below severe limits, which is some really good news for us. I do think flooding was going to be a bit of a concern for us, especially in the river valley, simply based off of how much rain we've seen over the last recent few days, and in addition to what's yet to fall there for us. With the backside of that system extending rain well towards, let's say, Lake Eufaula. That's all coming our direction. As you can see, a lot of it's orange, tells us it's at least moderate to heavy rainfall at times. Everything behind that line, the leading edge, is going to be non-severe. The severe weather threat is going to be found on the front edge of this cell. So while you're looking at Doppler radar and you're thinking, oh my goodness, there's a lot out there. Well, there is, but it's primarily the leading edge of this line in which the severe weather potential would be found. Once you get past the leading edge, it's just going to be good old soaking rain. Flooding will materialize more quickly with some of these heavier showers. It's not time yet to necessarily give East Oklahoma the all clear, but I think once this specific cell tracks over into West Arkansas, I'll be able to do just that. Here's Peavine, here's Stillwell, Cherry Tree. This is going to be towards the east of you. Area of Doppler radar indicated rotation continues. That warning as a result for that rotation is set to expire at 3 o'clock unless we need a new one. Looks like we're not moving a lot. This thing seemingly not moving very fast at all. Perhaps it's stalling out again as it was earlier, probably hitting some more terrain that's at least limiting in some respect that potential of some rotation. You can see here's where it would be found if you were to, let's call it the triad. Here's going to be the Crawford, Washington, Adair County line. Right there is where that rotation would be. So now we're south of Morrow there. We'll go in a little bit tighter now that we've made this map a little bit more simple for you to find exactly where that rotation is. Dark blue right there south of Evansville, which would indicate to us some weaker rotation, which certainly looks to be the case when you look at all of our different potential tools that we can analyze to find rotation. It's weaker. I think that's certainly going to be the case for us with this one. When you look at just the winds alone, yeah, they're breezy out there. They're probably gusty, and there is probably some spin in the atmosphere. But right now, parameters just aren't supporting strong rotation. I would love that to remain the case for the next few scans, and maybe we can just let that warning go. I think we're working our way that direction. Probably still a little bit too early. Don't want to necessarily lessen the threat. I think it continues. That's why that warning hasn't been allowed to expire. We get back into the River Valley from Sallisaw through Alma, Greenwood, and Mansfield. Quite a bit of moderate to heavy rain is continuing. These cells have fallen well below the severe weather threshold, but when you look at how much rain is going to be falling, in fact, we'll just look at rain rates. This map, it looks a little bit funky, and I apologize for that, but this is just how much rain would be falling out of these cells in 60 minutes, assuming the cells aren't moving. And given how slow they're moving, I think it's a real possibility that some of these cells are looking at 1 to 2 inches of rainfall. Go into that one. Yeah, it's not necessarily popping up the way I wanted it to, but that's okay. 2:37, our current time. 1 severe thunderstorm warning, 1 tornado warning. These cells are getting really close to moving into Washington County. The tornado warning itself runs until 3 o'clock this afternoon as this area of concern getting ready to move out of northwestern Crawford County into southwestern Washington. If you look at the 1 hour loop, is this the 1 hour loop? Yeah, this is a 1 hour loop. What you'll notice is you can see that rotation, you can see that spin on the bookend of that line. That's something we call it a bookend vortex. If you just draw your eye to it, just on rain mode alone, you can clearly see that that storm has been spinning for quite some time. Spinning as it may be, not necessarily at this moment producing anything that tells me there's a tornado on the ground. That could change. That's why we're here watching it very closely. That's why our warning is set to continue for at least the next little bit. Sequoyah County Sheriff did tell folks here at 5 News that they've not received any damage reports as of yet, which is some... Okay. Washington County Emergency, Sequoyah County, getting my counties confused here. Also echoing the sheriff's statement that they've not received any damage reports. There have been multiple tornado warnings in Sequoyah County. So if we can get by without any actual damage, we've certainly dodged a couple of bullets out there today. That would be some really good news for us. I know it was kind of intense for a while. Things in Sequoyah County right now, though, probably just going to be dealing with a little bit of rain. Here's rotation again, looking out of the Fort Smith radar. Not seeing it as pronounced as it was, guys. I think we're moving in a decent direction. I'll bring Stephen and Joshua in before I necessarily jinx us. Are we seeing anything that stands out in terms of organized rotation?
So I'm trying to bounce between the Fort Smith radar, which obviously is going to give us the best imagery. It's that close outside, but I'm trying to see if there's any major differences between the Fort Smith radar and the Tulsa radar. It's so far away, it's probably going to be a worse image for us. Both signatures to me looking like it's very weak, to say the least. There is a reason why they're holding on to this tornado warning. If anything, it's because of the history that it's carried. This is the same warning that we've been carrying on with since the Keota area, moved through parts of Sallisaw, eventually moving northwest to Sequoyah County and now into Adair, Crawford, and Washington County. If there is some area of concern where that rotation is going to be tightest at, again, like Scott just mentioned, it's going to be extreme northwest parts of Crawford County, if not just moving into southwest Washington County, that Evansville area, that is where, if you would find any rotation out there right now, that's where it would be. It's very weak on our end of things. It's 2:40 right now, 20 more minutes left on this warning. So there's a chance, if the National Weather Service is seeing something differently, this could extend further into Washington County. As it stands right now, though, I don't see any signs of them doing that.
I don't as it stands right now, but I think Stephen raises a really good point. This storm has produced a lot of rotation and at times some strong, concerning rotation. Despite the fact that it's not necessarily right now, it doesn't necessarily mean that it won't try to again. This is going to be kind of messy, but I'm just curious if that shows anything from the big picture perspective. It doesn't. Rotation overall looks a lot like this. In fact, I don't even know if we're picking up any pixels. Let's go back in tighter. There's probably a little bit popping up on the map right here. Yeah, just a very tiny smidge that's going to be crossing back into Washington County. Probably already has right now. In fact, the way this data sometimes processes. Okay.
And that's canceled. Or, sorry, parts of it is canceled.
Parts of it is canceled. For Sequoyah, Adair, Crawford County, you're no longer included in the tornado warning. A very, very small tornado warning continues for the area here shaded in red. That's going to be our tornado warning. Some of the locations, the roads included there would be Benchmark Road, Vineyard Road, Aztec Road, Yell Mountain Road, Skylight Mountain, Hell Mountain Road, Dobbs Mountain Road. There in the Evansville community. That's where the rotation would be right now, albeit it is very weak in nature. You can see that that warning is going to continue until 3 o'clock, top of the hour here, so we've got about 18 more minutes to go. I'll tell you though, the fact that they're not issuing a downstream warning tells me they're probably confirming kind of what we're seeing is yeah, a little bit, but it's weak at best. Probably some gusty winds coming out of it. That's why the severe thunderstorm warning itself is going to remain in effect probably for the next few minutes there as well. Are we still at 25 miles per hour? I'm going to proceed until you tell me different.
So that's the change. It's moved up to 35 miles per hour.
Okay, picking up a little bit of speed as we get into the elevation there. Let's see. 35, thank you for that information, Stephen. Now we're up to 35 miles per hour. We'll track that. I'm going to extend this a little bit further beyond the warning polygon, not necessarily to alarm you. I just want to give you an early heads up. 252 there at Morrow in about 10 minutes. Clyde here at 257. Keene Hill at 259 would be where that storm's tracking your direction. Inevitably, that would take that up near Prairie Grove, but Prairie Grove is not.
And just real quick, there's a little bit of area that me and Stephen have been watching behind the scenes that starting to be a little bit more co-located. It's near Highway 59. Not quite sure if it's interference or if it would be any type of debris, but over here on Analyst, it was briefly gate to gate, and there is a little bit of a CC drop that we may need to watch. It showed up on the PTDS tool as well.
Okay.
Not super clear, but it is something that has been relatively in the similar area the last 2 scans, so that may be something we need to watch.
Okay, so are we talking about this near here, Ray Road?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're on 250, actually on 59. So this is our debris tracker, and what it's indicating to us right now, potentially, it's not the strongest debris signature, but it's indicating to us that maybe there's something there in the atmosphere that shouldn't be there, and that's going to be of concern for us. What Joshua was telling us is that area of rotation is going to be right here, exactly where that debris signature is. And when you start to get those co-located, when those 2 different pieces of data are showing up at the exact same place at the exact same time, it does raise the alarms a little bit that there could be a little bit of debris being lofted into the atmosphere. Goodness, though, the rotation there is just so weak that it's kind of tough to imagine. I don't want to rule it out. I mean, the radar suggests that there very well could be some debris right there. But I'll tell you, if it is a very weak storm producing just that. Doesn't mean it's not severe. Doesn't mean you don't want to take it seriously. I think we do. Southwestern Washington County near Evansville. They're along 59. That's where radar does indicate there could be a little bit of spin there in the atmosphere, also producing potentially a little bit of rotation. So when we zoom out just a tad, let's do this. Give you an idea of who's included in that warning. We're going to go back over to just rain modes. You can see that polygon a little bit better. That does indicate to us that that threat for a potential tornado happening there at any moment. Just got a text message from a school official. Let me back you out here. Let's see if we can answer some of those questions. Prairie Grove right now, not under a tornado threat at the moment, but we are under a tornado watch, which now has been extended to include portions of Madison County as well. That runs also until 5 o'clock. So Madison County has been added to our watch. Prairie Grove is under a severe thunderstorm warning. This storm, though, that does have a history of producing some rotation, is slowly but surely making its way towards the northeast. That would inevitably take it into the Prairie Grove community. Not that there's an immediate threat in Prairie Grove. There's not. But that cell is one to pay attention to, just given the path that it's on and the history that it has of producing some on and off at times, some strong rotation, although that certainly is not going to be the case as of right now. We'll loop this for the last hour or so just to get a general idea of storm motion.
And while we're looking at that, a few communities that we can give the all clear to, Sequoyah, LaFleur County was dropped from the tornado watch. Some communities that have dealt with a long afternoon finally get some good news and no longer included in that watch.
Excellent news there. You can just see the spin just on rain mode alone, that southwestern vortex there. We may have a new tornado warning for that, I'm afraid, over the coming minutes, just based off of the spin there. While the rotation and the wind fields don't necessarily look too impressive, it's just going to be hard to ignore just that. I hope we're wrong, and I hope that will actually weaken up a little bit.
And just real quick, just kind of reviewing behind the scenes here, that area of rotation, just looking at the radar, that was right when this cell was, it was experiencing some cell interaction from the merging cell that was to the west, and it was right in between Highway 59 and the county line. Normalized rotation kind of peaked up there briefly as it was over the same area for about almost 5 different scans. So there may be a little bit of damage. It wouldn't have piqued my interest if it wasn't for the fact it popped up pretty quickly and then it started to follow the storm motion pretty close to co-located.
Okay.
So there may have been a little bit of debris there. No update from the Weather Service. And we don't see that now with our debris detector, but just reviewing, that was right when the cell started to get some interaction just right near Highway 59. It basically sat over the same area for almost 5 scans, so there may be some damage potentially there if that were to be, ground confirmation based off radar, but no information quite yet on if there was any sort of debris we can report on.
If there was something that touched down near Evansville, and I think there's a big question mark whether or not there was or not, it doesn't appear that it's still producing any debris. I'm not seeing that same signature that we once did a few minutes ago. So at least as of the time being, that's some good news for us. This warning set to expire in 12 minutes right there at 3 o'clock. For the remainder of that time, we've got to be here for the folks that are included in that specific warning, specifically for southwestern Washington County. I do think, unless it's expired, there is a severe thunderstorm warning. It's still there. That includes northern Crawford, southern Washington County. You can see that outline right in that general vicinity. It's been a second since I've showed you this, so let me do this. Let's walk through what we've got here. Yellow is going to be our tornado watch. One new addition for the folks in Madison County. All of Madison County is now included in our tornado watch until 5 o'clock this evening. As Stephen indicated, we can now sound the all clear for East Oklahoma with regards to severe weather potential. That's now crossed into West Arkansas where that threat continues. One thing you're going to want to be mindful of for the next 2 to 3 hours in East Oklahoma is the flooding concern. That green there is going to be our flood watch, and I do suspect with the amount of rain we're getting, we'll probably start to see some localized flooding out there, unfortunately, in some of those low-lying areas that are going to be more prone to that. Orange here is our severe thunderstorm warning. Right now, those warnings are in effect for the potential of some 60-mile-per-hour winds. That includes southern Washington, northern Crawford County, all up and down 49, between Alma and almost, let's say, up through the Winslow area. There's a very small sliver where we have 1 tornado warning. It is a very small tornado warning, probably one of the smallest ones I've ever seen. That warning, I'll do this, I'm going to back out. It's going to take it up Cane Hill, there along 45. Inevitably, that same cell may pass a little bit closer here, closer to Lincoln and eventually towards Prairie Grove. That doesn't mean that rotation continues that far. That doesn't mean if you're in Lincoln or Prairie Grove that there's an imminent threat. That just means I'm trying to do my best to give you as early heads up as I possibly can. Stephen?
Yeah, so when we're talking about Lincoln and Prairie Grove community specifically, if we're tracking this cell at about 35 miles per hour, some times of arrival to pass along towards you. Lincoln at 8:03, Lincoln Middle School at 3:09. That would be Center Point Church at 3:12, Prairie Grove at 3:15, and Prairie Grove Middle School at 3:16. Again, that is if one, this rotation holds it together, two, if it holds together at the speed at which it is, which is right now by the National Weather Service telling us at about 35 miles per hour. So again, Lincoln at 3:08 and Prairie Grove at 3:15.
Excellent information there, Stephen. Thank you so much for that. The severe thunderstorm warning will continue for West Fork through Winslow. Lincoln does not currently include Fayetteville or Farmington, but I will tell you there probably will be an additional severe thunderstorm warning if I had to guess, simply based on the fact that these winds are going to be breezy. It might be more of a straight line wind potential, but rotation is seemingly less organized than it once was. It was already pretty weak in terms of organization here along Vineyard Road. Here's Morrow, Hill Mountain Road, Dutch Mills, to name a couple of those communities. Prairie Grove is going to be a little bit further towards the north. Lincoln's going to be a little bit up towards the north. We do have a new severe thunderstorm warning to pass along to you. This is going to be from Madison County. My guess is this is probably going to be for the potential of some hail out of that cell. Yep, that's probably going to be it. This cell was moving through northern Franklin County, and it did have some signatures that would indicate to us there may be a little bit of hail falling out of that, and that appears to be the case right now, just east of St. Paul. So we're talking the Pig Trail there, Highway 23 near the Boston community. Not actually picking up any hail there. What's the winds doing? Maybe actually be a small pocket of rotation there.
When it comes to the warning, the tornado warning specifically, I know you're talking about a different severe thunderstorm warning that we have for Madison County. The plan is from the National Weather Service that they will allow it to expire at 3 p.m. unless they see some type of circulation tightening back up for that tornado warning.
Okay, so that's some good news for us. What they're telling us is, let me break that down into the terms that what it matters is they're telling us rotation's really weakened. At this point, they're going to let it just run its course, the warning, 3 o'clock, so 8 more minutes, unless it tightens back up, in which case it could. And that's why that tornado watch continues. Watch just means conditions are favorable, right? Very well could pulse back up. Right now, I'm not seeing that. A little bit unorganized at the moment, which is some potentially good news for us. That severe thunderstorm warning, however, includes a good chunk of Washington and Crawford County. That potential for 60-mile-per-hour straight-line winds continues. New severe thunderstorm warning now for Scott County. Let's go to that one. This one brand new, hot off the presses, still flashing up on our screen there. This is going to be for the east side of Scott County. It does include portions of Waldron, and this is probably going to be straight-line winds as well, up to 60 or so miles per hour. Parks community included in this specific warning. When we look at just the winds, pretty easy to see why. Right here on the leading edge of that boundary is where you would probably see 50 to 60-mile-per-hour winds likely coming out of that cell. We'll do a couple of samples here. So there's 48, there's 45. Keep in mind we're at radar level. It does mix down to the surface a little bit higher than that. That warning extends well into portions of Yell County as well. I don't see any rotation with that, but we want to watch it, especially this little I don't want to call it a total kink there, but that little area east of Waldron, it's worth paying attention to. If there were something to try to act up, that's probably where we would find it. Thankfully, right now, that's not the case for us. Right now, there's severe thunderstorm warning. There's 3 of them. There's the Washington-Crawford warning. We have the new one for Madison County, southern Madison, and the newest addition to the map that's going to be there in Scott County. So our job here is to continue until that tornado warning is expired, which is going to be in about 6 minutes from now. At that point, if there's no additional rotation or tornado warnings, we'll be able to take you back to regular programming. Don't worry, though, our coverage will continue on our streaming platforms, anywhere we can get that information out to you. Right now, though, let's see if that hail's come up. I really thought this was going to be a hail-producing storm. I'm not seeing it. With regards to that, maybe a little bit of pea-sized hail showing up there, maybe. Overall, I think that, though, might be the reason that warning was issued. If someone wants to double-check me over there for Madison, it's a pretty small severe thunderstorm warning. It looks like
We have a new tornado warning.
Okay.
Includes parts of Scott County.
Was that cell we were just looking at?
It's actually a cell just off towards the south that's going to include parts of Polk County and moving into Scott County. So that's the newest update update for you there. When you're talking about that warning for Madison County, it looks like there was some hail in Franklin County. At least that follows the track into Madison County.
Okay, so with regards to this other warning, this is going to be near Big Fork, so we're in Polk County. This is Mount Ida. This is way out of our viewing area. With that said, they did draw the warning in which it does clip portions of extreme southeastern Scott County. Extreme southeastern Scott County. So we called you out, but no one in Waldron needs to be necessarily worried about a tornado potential, at least as of right now. That cell, to me, probably tracks closer over into Yale County, as close as it's going to get to us. Let's keep an eye on it. Thank you for pointing that out, Stephen. While we're here, we'll just look at the rotation. Yep, there's a little vortex right there. I'll pinpoint it to you. You can kind of see that notch right there. That would continue tracking.
Yeah, and on the
towards
normalized here over on the analyst, that one is pretty strong compared to the other ones that we've seen so far today. Starting to see some higher values with that one. Another area too of some stronger winds to the north in Scott County. Just to bring up Scott County, it looks like over near Parks, there's a little bit of a Boeing segment that looks like that may be some more intense winds. So, and that's a little bit brighter compared to earlier. So some intense winds near the community of Parks, Cedar Creek. And it looks like we may be starting to see a little bit higher wind threat down there as well to the north of that tornado warning.
An official word from the National Weather Service when it comes into regards of the tornado warning. That's for Washington County. Again, we talked about it about 5-10 minutes ago. Just that official update now. There are plans to let that expire here in about 3 minutes.
Okay, excellent, thank you. Let's stay right here. I'm going to go back into those wind fields Joshua was pointing out. It's going to be tough to see at that range, get a little bit of elevation too, the Washitas, looking at the velocity. Yeah, I definitely see that. How fast was that cell in Scott County moving, Joshua or Stephen?
40 miles per hour.
40 miles per hour. So leading edge of that line is going to take it out. Friendship Church 259, Harvey at 308, Gravely at 317, Blue Ball 320. Bluffton at 325, Waltrek at 328. Let's watch that continue to move into eastern Scott County. There is that southern portion of Scott County that's technically in a warning. I'll tell you, I'm not too concerned with the track of that cell. I think this one may just be one of those issues where just the way they had to draw the polygon to make it look cohesive is why that rotation was issued. But this is to the east of Mena. So of course, here's Mena right here. We're well off towards the east there. That rotation, little kink in the line, is going to continue to track north of Mount Ida. And goodness gracious, that's just way out of our area. So we'll let that sit there. The Weather Service did tell us, as Stephen pointed out, the Weather Service is going to allow that warning to expire here in 2 minutes for southwestern Washington County. Severe thunderstorm warning will continue for the potential of some damaging straight line winds, but the rotation potential is just not there as it once was. We'll take a look at it as it gets closer to Lincoln. Our winds are going to be there, rotation just not there right now. Let's watch it. I mean, of course, it could pulse back up. This cell certainly has a history of doing just that. We're looking just to the west of Strickler, south of Cane Hill. A little bit of a wind, probably a little wind signature right there. Not necessarily of much concern for us at this moment in terms of tornadoes. I think that threat is really low at this point, as low as it's been with that cell for quite some time. I do have that other severe thunderstorm warning. As Stephen pointed out, it was producing some hail in Franklin County. Weather Service out of Tulsa issued a warning as it moved into northern Franklin, really southern Madison County, between St. Paul, Boston. It does include the Venus community. That hail potentially as large as quarter size, starting to show up a little bit of a signature there, although starting to come down just a bit.
Yeah, that's exactly what the National Weather Service is commenting on, that warning that they have there. While there was some enough hail signature to issue that warning, if anything, it's been decreasing over the past couple of scans.
Good to hear that. Love that. Let's hope that warning can drop off here real soon. We'll go back to rain mode. When we do that, what we find is that there's a lot of it out there, heavy rain at times, and that's going to be impacting our afternoon commute home. There's no question about that. Expect some slow drive times. Severe weather threat continues. One severe thunderstorm warning for Washington and Crawford County. That is set to expire at what time was that?
Sorry, which one?
The Washington Crawford?
315.
315. So we got about 15 more minutes with that one specifically. Okay, 5 News Storm Chaser, where is that located at right now?
They were headed north on I-40 earlier, I believe. The control room can let us know too, but
Yeah,
I believe they're north
passing-
of Chester.
Yeah, going south, just passing the Winslow exit there. If we could take me back full screen, please, that'll allow me to continue to do the work over here. Thank you.
And good news for that Crawford, Washington County storm, normalized rotation. We're not seeing any signatures with that at this point in time.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for that. Some good winds coming out of Scott County with that cell specifically there. Let's do this. I know there is some heightened attention in Scott County. There is a tornado warning that includes the very, 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 very southeast, extreme southeast corner of Scott County. You can see that sliver right there. I think the rotation is going to stay to your south. I don't think it's going to be of a concern to us.
And just real quick, north of Cedar Creek, we're starting to see that normalized rotation reach some higher values there. So not necessarily for a tornado risk, but I think that that area of wind north of Cedar Creek may be starting to reach closer to the 65 mile per hour range or higher.
Okay, thank you for passing that along to us there. Those bright pinks definitely tell us there's some gusty winds coming out of the Scott County cell, especially east of Walden. There's 56 mile per hour. There's 47. Let me do that one more time. There's 60. I mean, that's severe. There's no question why that warning has been issued the way it has. That cell is moving somewhat somewhat quicker than the rest of them have been. At time we've seen some storm motions down to about 25 or so miles per hour. That seemingly is not the case as it passes to the east of Waldron, Parks, Tate. That cell moves into Yell County here soon, which is going to be the Little Rock coverage area. We'll pass the baton along to them when that cell passes through. When it comes to some of these areas of rotation, not seeing anything in Scott County as of right now, but you always want to look along these little kinks in the line. That's sometimes where some quick spin-ups can happen. Looks like the severe thunderstorm warning for Madison County has been allowed to expire. That as that cell has fallen below severe limits. It was a very small warning to begin with, but that has now fallen off the map as the Weather Service has canceled that one earlier. Got about 13 more minutes to go for our Washington and Crawford County storm. I'll tell you, not only does Joshua see on some of our off-air products that we can analyze, not only is there no rotation there, even just the overall presentation of rain mode would seemingly suggest there's really not even a lot of wind coming out of that cell for the most part. Looks like there may be a little bit of a signature here in northeastern Crawford County, southeastern Washington near Winslow. That would be, let's see, about 43 or so miles per hour, 47. So it's getting up there. I would still say, despite the fact the rotation is a little bit lower than it was, you still kind of see this general notch right there. In that general vicinity. That's certainly something we want to watch. We'll do just that. Rotation is really weak, not too much of a concern. It's about as good as I've seen it for quite some time. Gives me a little bit of comfort that maybe we're done with tornado warnings, at least for the time being. Watch is going to set to continue for the next 2 hours for Madison, Washington, Crawford, Sebastian counties, as well as Scott and Logan, right? Logan was included in that. Pretty sure. LaFleur has been canceled. All of East Oklahoma has been canceled from our tornado watch. Initially, that was included for a good chunk of East Oklahoma, but that has since been allowed to expire.
Something we'll need to watch again, that one that we were just highlighting in Washington County, while it is broad, there's still just a little bit of a broad rotation, and we're starting to see just a weaker normalized rotation signature coming back, and that would be to the south of Highway 62, probably a good couple miles to the south of Prairie Grove right now. So not immediate tornado risk, but anytime we see these normalized rotation signatures kind of come back, it's just something that we want to watch carefully.
It's pretty easy to see when you just loop for the last 30 minutes. If you look, you can see the spin. I mean, there's some spin in the overall atmosphere of the cell. If you're kind of still looking at that bookend vortex, and here on the bookend or the most northern fringe of that line, just over the last 30 minutes alone, if you just draw your eye to where my fingers are pointed, and look how that cell just seemingly spinning ever so slowly. So while that rotation not making it to the ground level just yet, let's hope that trend continues for us. There could be just a little bit of something right there, as Josh was pointed out. We'll take another look at our velocity mode here. Velocity is how we detect the wind speeds and the direction. Definitely not the most pronounced signature I've ever seen, but a little bit of something right there. That's going to be just to the south of Lincoln, south of Prairie Grove. It is moving towards the northeast, so at some point that is going to cross over I-49. We'll bump this down a little bit. I think that might take it a little bit closer to the Greenland community on that current trajectory right now. Nothing necessarily super concerning with that specific cell. I do want to do this for our friends in Scott County. Let's go back into this one. Those winds are really strong. That's going to be actually the most severe cell we've got right now is in Scott County as that pushes off towards the east. You've got a couple of things going on for you right now in Scott County. Not only do you have this eastern Scott County straight line wind potential, as you see on the leading edge right here where those pinks are really bright. That's probably some 60-mile-per-hour straight line winds. In addition to that, there is a cell way off to your south now, way even further south than Mena. That's going to be for Big Fork. That supercell has a little bit of rotation, but that is not likely going to impact us there in Scott County. That's the good news with regards to that one specifically right there. Time now is 3:05. This severe thunderstorm warning goes for 10 more minutes until 10:15. The one in Scott County is going to go for a little bit longer. Tornado warning itself also going to go for a little bit longer. I tell you, I feel okay with the track of that rotation moving mostly into Yell County. Probably not going to be too much of a concern for folks in Scott County. Let's do this. Who do we have up in the booth? What producer do we have? If we have a producer up there, I'd like to, hello, Danny. Let's do this. Let's pull up Mercy, Fort Smith. I'd like to take a look out there and see kind of what the rain is doing. I suspect we might have a little bit of ponding on the roadways, a little bit of heavy rain continuing for us. That flood threat is going to continue to materialize likely over the next several minutes. Getting that Mercy camera pulled up, we'll probably do a little tour of these. I'll tell you who I want next. After that, I'd like to take a look into the Mercy Rogers. We'll stick with our Mercy cameras for a couple of minutes. Both of these cameras sitting on top of the hospitals there. The first one going to be in Fort Smith right there along Rogers Avenue. I can tell they're getting it pulled up. There we go. Looks like traffic's still moving nice and smoothly. I have this kind of pointed back off towards the southwest there. That hospital parking lot kind of full of folks there. Traffic's moving a little bit slowly, but it is moving nonetheless. Whenever you're ready to pull up Mercy Rogers, I'm kind of curious. I do see some ponding of the water off in the distance. I'm curious what that's going to look like on the big screen when we can get that pulled up. Okay, so here's 49 on the bottom side. This is looking towards the amp. The amp would be just off to the left side of your screen, Cross Church to the right. The big three crosses right there. A little bit of rain, and that's going to keep folks slowed down out there this afternoon. Thank you for doing that. Let's go back to radar full screen. Go back in checking some rotation while we're here. There's a little bit of a hook, well, not even a hook, a little bit of a notch just to the south of Prairie Grove. I hate to even point it out because I know it's going to alarm some folks. That's not my intention. Just kind of talking out loud, being transparent with what we see. Rotation is next to nothing with it. That severe thunderstorm warning likely going to continue for a little bit longer. I think that one's set to expire at 3:15. So we've got about 6 or 7 more minutes to go with that specific cell. Our Scott County cell, to me, looks to be the one of most concern right now. I think that warning is going to be allowed to expire. I don't see really much of a need for an additional warning. We go into Scott County, a large complex of thunderstorms moving through. Damaging straight line winds is going to be the primary concern there. To the south, there is another tornado warning, but it's well off to our south, and I'll tell you, I really still feel like the rotation they're coming out of Big Fork is probably going to miss the majority of Scott County. It really looks like that's going to be tracking just barely off towards the east of the county line there. Okay, that severe thunderstorm warning for Crawford and Washington has been allowed to expire a few minutes early. So let's do this. I'm going to bring Stephen in here real quick. If you got just a second, Stephen's been here since 2 o'clock this morning, so he's now on hour 13 of his time here. And so you'll have to forgive him if he sounds a little bit hoarse. I'll be right back with you.
That's okay. Scott just mentioned that's a severe thunderstorm warning for Crawford and Washington County. That was allowed to expire. So now our 2 warnings that we have, 1 severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Scott County, also including in that tornado warning as well. So folks who are joining us from Scott County saying, hey, I'm getting that alert on my phone. What is that tornado warning all about? Well, the polygon is included into extreme southeast parts of Scott County. But I tell you what, the rotation that's involved with that warning looks like, if anything, it's going to move off towards the south of Scott County. If it starts to change in that direction, we're going to be the first to tell you here of, hey, now parts of southeastern Scott County, that rotation moving just a little bit. Just not seeing those signs as it stands over right now. So what I want to go ahead and do is take a little tour here across the area. Let's pull up rain mode once again. And what it's going to show us is that right now, yes, we do have those severe thunderstorm warnings in parts of Scott, and eventually that warning that's in Washington. And is that my mic up in the booth? All right, hopefully that stopped right there. Sound good now? Okay, the warning that we have right now for Washington, Crawford County, while you still see it on your screens there, that's going to fall away here in just a moment. So our only warnings would then be in parts of Scott County. We'll break down those warnings here in just a second. I hear that mic too going on. I'm sorry, folks, who are having to listen to that right here. Oh boy, that is really... I think I can get it to calm down here now, hopefully. All right, I'm going to let it sit there. Hopefully it calms down now. So the rest of northwest Arkansas, the rest of the river valley, outside of this warning that's about to fade off your screen here in just a few moments, just some heavy rainfall. That was the issue that we first started talking about several days ago, is that not only the severe threats that came with these thunderstorms that we're tracking over the same area over and over again over the past several days. Today's kind of the finale of this. Over the next couple of days, maybe just a few of these scattered showers here and there. The issue that we're going to have the rest of this evening, and I tell you what, we're still talking about that heavy rainfall tracking all the way out to ports of Ada, Delaware, Sequoyah, and LaFleur County, still getting some steady rainfall in those areas. Now, eventually, we're going to be able to clear some areas further out towards the west of starting to dry out just a bit. But that flooding concern is definitely going to be our concern the rest of this evening. Hearing from the National Weather Service, Washington County, that severe thunderstorm warning is going to allowed to expire. There is some broad rotation still, wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour. So while they're pointing out 2 things there really. One, good news is that it's going to be allowed to expire, but we can't keep our eyes off of just yet. Still seeing some low-level or low-end chance of maybe that cell still trying to spin a little bit, but also the chances that that wind that's involved with it is going to be strong as well. Yeah, go ahead. Let's bring in Joshua here. I know that folks at home not enjoying hearing my mic right now. Joshua, take it away.
And no worries here. I'll step over here in just a second. Sorry, we'll go over to the green screen real quick and just show you kind of what we're talking about here. And we're talking about a wide view of shower and thunderstorm development. If we could go to the green, thank you. And you can see it is a wet mess out there. We're talking more heavy rainfall potential. We're talking more, flash flooding potential as well, just because all of this heavy rainfall, it's moving to the east, but we still have a lot more activity to the west in terms of rainfall that will lead to the severe potential, or to the flash flooding potential, excuse me. Severe thunderstorm warning that was in Washington and Crawford counties, that has been allowed to expire. It'll be dropping off here in just a second. They're replacing it with what we call a special weather statement, meaning that it's not quite severe. We're talking 50-mile-per-hour winds are still possible. There's still a little bit of a broad rotation, but that's because this whole area right here, as that low pressure system is moving in, the whole thing is spinning. So there's going to be a little bit of that with this activity, but overall the tornado threat has decreased with this. We'll still watch it, and of course still some gusty winds moving into portions of Washington County. So Fayetteville, Prairie Grove, some of those areas. Don't be surprised if you see some gusty winds. The worst of the activity is further to the south here, as we can see into portions of Scott County. So Again, right now, the most intense storms that we have going on are well to the south, and this is this activity here starting to push into, Scott County, but eventually that is going to leave our area here pretty soon. We're still watching that just because this is a pretty intense storm in terms of those winds. In fact, let's go ahead here, and I'll zoom into this area down here in Scott County. And again, some of those communities in the path of this, Gravely, and this is Highway 28 to the east of Parks. This is some pretty intense winds that we have here, so it wouldn't surprise me if we're seeing some 60, maybe even some gusts of 65 at times, but still some intense winds with this. Not necessarily a tornado risk with this, but behind the scenes, when I was mentioning that normalized rotation, that can give us not only an indication of where some rotation could be occurring, but also where some intense winds would be located. This entire segment down here in Scott County, this was highlighted for intense winds, and certainly seeing some strong gusty winds. It wouldn't surprise me if we saw maybe some 60 plus at times. The warning itself is for 60, but keep in mind we're well away from the radar, so this may be translating to the ground a little bit differently. You could get some gusts of less, you could get some gusts of higher here and there, but overall this is going to be the most intense portion of the storms, at least in our neck of the woods here. To the south of there, it doesn't really look like we have that tornado warning anymore, but the one thing that the Weather Service in Little Rock, and for those who don't know, this is Little Rock's coverage area here for the National Weather Service. Further to the west, that's Tulsa, but Little Rock here saying that they are going to be watching this as it continues to move east, because there's a couple of these little notches here along with the line that we will need to watch, but no immediate tornado risk with these at this point in time. So we got Scott back. We're going to go ahead and give that to him with the latest information in regards to the storms across the area.
So I've been just kind of analyzing some data off air here and kind of getting a game plan as to what we want to do for the next few minutes. With the tornado warning expired, our typical protocol is to go back to regular programming. There's something that is a little bit of concerning to me right now, and this happened earlier, and we stayed on, and a new warning was issued, and so I'm happy we did that. So with that said, I want to keep an eye on the cell just to the east of Waldron. We're talking far eastern Scott County. I thought I was going to come in here and tell you we're going to go back to programming, but the second I kind of saw a little bit of rotation here, this is going to be just to the north of Harvey. So if you know where Harvey is, there in Scott County along Highway 28, there is a little bit of rotation that's now beginning to develop there. And so I think it's prudent for us to stay here for just a little bit longer. I wish we could let you go back to programming, and I apologize that we're covering up soccer for you. I want you to know it weighs heavy on me, but unfortunately what weighs even heavier on all of us here is just keeping people safe. So we're going to do that. Let's stay here for a little bit longer with that rotation now just to the north of Harvey. That is somewhat weak at the moment. Nothing with regards to a tornado warning with regards to that specific area. But when you look at the rotation, you can kind of easily see it there. Josh was pinpointing it. Here's Parks. Here's going to be Harvey, and we're just to the north of that. So we're east of Waldron by several miles. In fact, we're closing in on the Scott-Yell County line. My hope is that that can track out to the Yell County portion, and right now allow the Little Rock television stations to pick that up. Weather Service is watching it closely. They're telling me off air here, right there on that Boeing segment. You can kind of see where that rotation would generally be in this vicinity right here specifically. A little bit of a kink in that line. We kind of called that out to you a little bit earlier, right? And that's where we would expect to see things try to spin up, and that's potentially what's happening there right along Highway 80 at this point. Very well could see potentially something trying to come together there. Rotation would be tracking closer to Blue Ball. That's going to be there in Yell County, eventually over towards Bluffton. Gravely there on the Yell County side as well, should that rotation actually continue to spin up and develop something. Right now, it's just something to watch, and that's what we're going to do here for you over the next several minutes. That's our only area of concern. Heavy rain continues across northwest Arkansas, good chunk of the River Valley, but it is going to be that one Scott County cell, East Scott County, in which we would expect there to be some issues, if any at all, with that specific cell. Now getting ready to cross over into Yell County. Our hope is that it will continue to weaken or weaken soon, or just speed up and get on out of there. That's the last thing folks in Scott County want to deal with after what's been Quite a busy spring in terms of severe weather there in Scott County. You can see that warning is in effect for the potential of 60-mile-per-hour winds. Right now there is potential for some small pea-sized hail potentially falling out of that. Warning set to expire at 3:30 this afternoon, so we have about 11 more minutes to go with that specific cell. Rotation right now would be about, let's say, 3 miles exactly southwest of Blue Ball. Southwest of Blue Ball. When it comes to Harvey, we are looking at about 5 miles towards the northeast from Harvey, should that rotation actually be producing any type of wall cloud or anything like that. Probably would be tough to see. All of these cells we've tracked today for you have been rain wrapped, but goodness gracious, there's definitely some winds coming out of this cell. When you just look at the velocity signatures alone, we're looking at the potential of 50, 60 mile per hour winds coming out of this with this specific cell right there. So if there's not actual really rotation, there's certainly going to be some gusty winds coming out of that cell in Scott County. Question just came into the chat room there, or our text message line. Is Prairie Grove in the clear? There's no active severe weather warnings for you in Prairie Grove. There is a cell that has some really broad rotation continuing to move up out of the Prairie Grove area. That'll soon be moving into Farmington and Fayetteville. It's really broad rotation. It's so broad and generally weak enough that there's no actual warnings. With no warnings, that means there's no imminent danger as of this moment. We're not going to let our guard down on it just because there's not a warning. We'll keep a close eye in that general vicinity, but you can almost quickly see it. If I zoom back in, as this radar loops, you'll probably notice there in Washington County that spin in the atmosphere has really just produced that constant spinning motion as that cell moved out of Adair County, clipped parts of northwestern Crawford, now moving into the Fayetteville community. There's a lot of rain out there, so you're probably not going to be seeing really anything at all. But in terms of severe weather, no active warnings in northwest Arkansas. Our tornado watch does continue until 5 o'clock, though, so we have a little more than 90 minutes to go until that watch is allowed to expire, unless it's canceled early, which is a possibility for us. The only severe weather warning we have in our viewing area is going to be for Scott County. That potential is going to continue probably for the next 15 to 20 minutes for portions of Scott County as that line of heavy wind, rain, probably some decent lightning and thunder continues to track towards the northeast as well. At times there have been a little bit of rotation here with it. We're going back in to get an idea of what it's doing here specifically. Yeah, it's still there. It's definitively still there, but it's closing in on that county line. Right there. Here's the thing. Once that crosses out the county line, which is about 2 to 3 miles, I'll be able to take you back to regular programming. Yell County, if by chance for some reason you're seeing our signal here this afternoon, thanks for watching us. Happy you found us. You're technically covered by the Little Rock television market, and they'll pick up coverage for you here in the next few moments. It's still, technically speaking, in our coverage area, and we want to be here for the folks there in Scott County. That's where we're maintaining our coverage here for just a little bit longer. I'm going to give it about, let's say, 60 or so more seconds. Give it another minute or so. And I think we're going to be able to take you to programming. It's been a very active day. Numerous severe thunderstorm warnings, a handful of tornado warnings. Primarily Sequoyah County was under the gun. Both emergency management and the sheriff's office telling us here at 5 News, no damage reported, which means there was likely no touchdowns. It would be probably pretty quick to see reports come in, given it's during the middle of the day, should we have had damage. So it looks like we probably dodged a bullet there in Sequoyah County. It looked pretty intense for quite some time. That rotation did push into Adair, northwestern Crawford, southwestern Washington County. No reports of damage, at least as of right now, out of that area. At one point, radar did indicate potential of something being wafted into the atmosphere there, but that seemingly has fizzled out as well. Let's see, that new tornado watch. Joshua, if you're there, if you'll check what that update is on the watch for me. Let's see if I can pull it up there. Franklin has been added to it, or did that happen a while ago?
I think that may have happened a while ago. Looking to see, it doesn't look like there's any sort of update on either chat room real quick. Let me look and see.
Okay.
And just real quick too, just for that very broad, it's not an immediate tornado risk, but I pointed the Washington County cameras just to see if there's any sort of interesting looking clouds or anything that we can show as that moves in here too.
Okay, looks like Johnson County was added to the tornado watch. Let me go back over towards that. Okay, it's just not filling in on my screen here. I'm sure that'll populate here real soon. Okay, let's go back to live Doppler radar. Tornado watch continues for Madison County as well as Washington. There's a little bit of spin there. Did see a text message here from my friends at Ozark Natural Science Center, doing great work out there, educating the youth about all things science, conservation, nature. Anything to be concerned with there in Madison County? Not at the moment. Heavy rain is going to be your primary concern, but the reason that watch is in effect is that there is enough spin in the atmosphere that something could develop rather quickly, and so we want to be on guard through at least about 5 o'clock with that specific cell. Leading edge of that line moving through Logan County, while not severe at the moment, looks to be somewhat pronounced with regards to potentially some winds. That's going to be near Boonville. Getting closer to Paris. It's probably going to get a little bit gusty out there in Magazine. Right now, wind velocities look a little bit like this. 55, there's 49, there's 49. So right around that 50 mile per hour mark. That's close to severe, but not quite. And that's the reason why that warning has not been issued for you there. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give one more glance at this cell in Scott County. And most of it's moved out of Scott County. At least the winds have. The severe aspect has.
Looks like some strong winds would be in Blue Ball right now, kind of on that county line where it's transitioning more into the Little Rock market.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, so with that said, I feel comfortable for the first time and several times to go ahead and take us back to regular programming. Our coverage will continue here over on 5+ for a little bit longer. Here's the thing, there's some hiccup with Facebook that unfortunately, much to my frustration, deep frustration, we weren't able to get a stream out there on Facebook or YouTube like we always do. I promise you we're going to get that resolved. Our commitment to you is to be there as in many places as possible. Today, we unfortunately weren't able to be there for you on Facebook. We're always on 5+ though, and that's really a great spot for us. That's where you can find us once we return you back to normal programming. We'll continue our coverage on our free mobile app. If you're out and about, not in front of your television, our free mobile app will continue there for at least a little bit longer. I want to wait until that warning is expired for Scott County before we're able to work on our 4, 5, 6 o'clock newscast, which will be here real soon as well. Meteorologist Stephen Elmore, been in since 2 o'clock this morning. We thank him for his work. Joshua Weisel coming in on his day off. And for all the folks here behind the scenes that are scrambling to make sure we can give you the best coverage we possibly can, I'm Chief Meteorologist Scott Covert. We'll take you back to regularly scheduled programming.
Live on 5 News and streaming on 5+, this is a Weather Impact Alert.
All right, good afternoon, everybody there. Thanks for sticking with us as we resumed regularly scheduled programming there on Channel 5. Our coverage continues right here for Scott County. That's our only warning at the moment for the 5 News viewing area. Large mass of rain continues to move through the area. There remains a little bit of spin in Washington County, spin that has produced some tornado warnings throughout the course of the day. I'm watching it closely to make sure that nothing's changing there with regards to that. I do want to take another look. Josh was pointing some cameras over that direction. He was doing that a little bit earlier. We'll take a closer look into some of the spin. It's going to be some really weak rotation, but some rotation nonetheless. Now just to the south of Fayetteville here. This specifically is going to be moving right along 49. So we're getting really close to the Greenland area. It is some really weak rotation, but some rotation nonetheless. And just given the overall spin, do what? Joshua, did you have something to pass along, Josh? Can we pull Joshua's mic up?
Just asking if we can pull up the Chamber of Commerce camera, just to kind of give a view for this.
Oh, okay, yeah. If we can pull up the Chamber of Commerce camera, I do see something of interest there. Fayetteville Chamber, please. We working on that in the back, please? Thank you. Looking off towards the southwest there. Heavy rain continues, can't see a lot. A little bit of a lowering there. I don't think this is going to actually be the rotation. I think it's going to be a little bit deeper back into all that mess, that clutter. This is probably just some scud. A little bit of scary looking clouds there.
Yeah, and I agree. The Slim Chickens camera, you can see just a lot of scud over Fayetteville right now. So I think that it's going to be further, probably, I could move it. It may be further to the right if there's anything.
Okay, yeah, if you want to do that. Right now, that rotation, you're moving, Josh is moving that camera. This is going to be looking from downtown Fayetteville right here, kind of back over in that general vicinity. It probably gives us a pretty decent picture of what's happening there. Really weak rotation. I wouldn't be too alarmed at the moment, but I don't trust storms. Don't trust them at all. I do have the trust issues with these things, so we'll keep looking into that until it's completely out of the area. That spin, though, you can see it. That entire little vortex, or what's left of that bookend vortex there, continues to spin. This is a 1 hour radar loop, and you'll see it hasn't stopped really spinning overall. Doesn't mean a tornado's imminent, but it certainly means that there's enough spin in the atmosphere that certainly that could change with just a moment's notice. Right there specifically. We're going to go back into our Scott County cell. It's now moved almost entirely out of the viewing area. But there's a little portion of it that continues to see some gusty winds. Let me turn off this, if I can turn off that. Okay. Computer's going to make me work hard today. Yeah, it's almost entirely in Yell County, so that's less of a concern for us. Probably some gusty winds in Logan County, I think that's for sure. Heavy rain for sure in Logan County. Watching kind of some of that as well. Could be a little bit of something there. Do want to show you the watches. Here's what we have in effect for the rest, well, the next 90 minutes, the hour and a half. Washington, Madison, Franklin, Crawford, Sebastian, Logan, and Johnson County, Logan and Scott County included in that warning. I had a report of, Danny, where did you get the Johnson County? For some reason, okay, I don't, okay. I don't think Johnson's included in a tornado watch right now. Otherwise, it'd be popping up. Stephen, can you, Joshua, can you just verify that for us? Check in on Johnson County. Was there the watch extended? I never saw that come across the wire.
Yeah, I didn't see anything come across the wire
No
on either chat room.
Okay, no worries. That watch, though, running until 5 o'clock. Well, I think we are in a downward trend with these showers and these storms. There remains some severe weather potential. Some. It's not much, but some potential nonetheless. Joshua, I'm going to actually trade spots with you if you want to come over here. You're here. You might as well get in on the action a little bit. I'm going to analyze a little bit something for the 4 o'clock newscast.
All good, and as you can see, it's basically just a sloppy mess in terms of activity right now, too. And Scott, if you want to look over there, I popped up the Slim Chickens camera as well, just to see if you can see anything that we would want to show if there was any cool clouds or anything like that. But right now, viewing wise, not a whole lot. We're talking, just some heavy rainfall across the area. And this is, okay, so this is Slim Chickens here. And we're kind of looking in the direction of where that broad rotation would be. But right now, as you can see, we don't see any sort of scary funnel clouds or anything like that. Of course, no warnings, no alerts, anything like that. There's a special weather statement for, I believe it was 45 plus mile per hour winds with that. So again, just some gusty winds there. Let's go back to radar here and just show you that sloppy mess across the area. And you can see there is that big area spin over here over Washington County, and not in terms of a tornado, but just atmospheric spin creating this issue where there's still some low end rotation aloft with this. But we're also watching, flash flooding potential at this point. Severe thunderstorm warning basically for Scott and Logan County is just a sliver right now. The worst of it's starting to push off to the east. But the thing I want to highlight too is notice we have had a lot of rainfall over the last several weeks. We have had just a tremendous amount of rain over and over and over. And even though it hasn't been, every single day the last several weeks that we've seen this heavy rainfall, you may have noticed in your yard, it's still damp, even before this activity moved through. We still have a lot of standing water in some places. And with more of this rainfall, notice this is pushing off to the east, but there's additional rainfall also pushing in. That's only going to add to it. So areas that have already seen some stagnant water that's been kind of just sitting around because there's no place for it to go, really not absorbing quickly, this is going to add to that. So one thing I want anyone to be aware of is the localized flooding potential, especially some of these, smaller side roads, smaller country roads, even some dirt roads too. There may be some washed out roads in some areas prone to flooding that have seen a lot of rainfall there as well. So be mindful of that when you're driving, especially side roads, some of those more dirt roads in some more rural areas as well. There's going to be likely a localized flooding potential. The other thing too that I wanted to highlight in addition to that is we're also going to be seeing the potential for maybe some hydroplaning accidents across the area as well. Just because when you get this kind of rainfall, there's always people that, unfortunately they accidentally slip on the rain just because, sitting water can lead to a hydroplaning risk there. So I'll also be checking iDrive to see if we have any sort of accidents there. And it does look like we have one in the Van Buren area. That's Highway 540. And I'm going to check just kind of behind the scenes here. May be able to pop it up if there's a camera view. I'm going to look here real quick. If someone in the control room can bring up Highway 540 and Van Buren kind of just behind the scenes and pull that up. This is something that I want to highlight. It looks like a car hydroplaned here. You can see, unfortunately, may have slipped on that water. This is 540 over the, just before you get on the Arkansas River. And you can see accident there leading to some backups. So we've been talking about severe weather, but at this point in time, while there's not a whole lot of warnings, I do want to draw attention to, flash flooding is not the most concerning risk for a lot of people, and so is the heavy rainfall. But this amount of rainfall is leading to some issues. Of course, Highway 540, we have that accident there. There's another accident too that we can also bring up here. I'm going to see if there's a camera. But it's closer, it's in Washington County, just to the west of Winslow, and that also looks like it is a hydroplaning accident as the vehicle kind of skidded off the road there, and you can see not really causing any sort of issues, but this box that we have right here, you can see that tow truck that looks like the law enforcement officers are kind of coming up the hill because that car may have slid off. So hopefully everyone's okay with both of those accidents, but slow it down. We've got roadways that have water on them, and that can lead to, hydroplaning risk. The faster you go, the more likely it is that you could hydroplane. So we want you to be aware of that, but just keeping an eye on the road conditions there. We saw a couple accidents when we were in coverage earlier, but obviously with a tornado warning and stuff like that, and you can actually see there, wow, they are pulling that car up from down that hill. So hopefully, like I said, the driver of that is okay. That would certainly be a scary experience there. So you can see here, we're already seeing some accidents because of the water on the roadways. Make sure you're taking it slow. I know we all have places we have to go. We all have places we have to be. Take it slow. You'll get there. It's okay if you're there a couple minutes late. Just make sure that you're safe, your passengers are safe. Just because this water on the roadway is no joke, especially because we have lots of areas, where water starts to pond on the roadways. So the only thing that we have going on now is this severe thunderstorm warning, and it does clip portions of Logan and Scott counties. We're not highlighting this too much, because notice the worst of it, even though you are in a warning, the worst of it's already out of our coverage area. Are you still seeing some gusty winds in this area? Yes, but it's not the more intense winds that we saw just a little bit ago. So again, it looks like, okay, thought that was an update there, but it looks like the only thing that we're going to be talking about right now is definitely going to be the rainfall. Let's see if this will load. I'm not sure if that will load. All right, so the 3-hour estimate, let's go ahead and do that here real quick and just show you over the last 3 hours. I'll just highlight a couple of these areas. You know, portions of Sequoyah County over the last 3 hours saw roughly 2 3/4 inch, almost 2 inches. Really, the heaviest rainfall has been Adair, Sequoyah, and LaFleur County, where you can see basically over the last 3 hours, some areas have seen anywhere between 1 to 3 inches roughly. And that's a broad estimate just because you can see kind of cherry picked a couple colors there where they're a little bit brighter and a little bit more intense with the rainfall. But it wouldn't surprise me if some of those areas, just broadly speaking, saw anywhere between about 1 to 3 inches of rainfall. Washington County, probably about a ½ inch to maybe just under 2. Depending on some areas where the heaviest rainfall has fallen. But really, our western Oklahoma counties have seen the more tremendous rainfall over the last 3 hours with this activity. Same with portions of Logan and Scott counties. I'll zoom out down there real quick and show you what we're talking about as well. Just a lot of rainfall. In fact, portions of LaFleur County too. Just kind of pick some of these spots here. Again, still close to about 3 inches of rainfall. So if you're just tuning in right now, we're not having any sort of broad warnings or anything that we're talking about in terms of severe weather. I do want to go back to the broad radar here real quick, and we'll do a quick little tour starting in northwest Arkansas. Again, this is just a big mess of rain. So no severe thunderstorm warnings with this. There is still that little area of spin that we were talking about, and still watching the cameras kind of off to the side to see. Not necessarily for a tornado, but you know, when you get some spin in the atmosphere, you might get a couple of clouds that viewers may think are worrisome. When truth be told, it's just you know, it's just a rotating atmosphere that we have aloft, and that's going to lead to maybe some more interesting, scary-looking clouds. But right now, as you can just see, we're not seeing that gate to gate. And if you're not sure what that means, gate to gate is when you get those tightly knit reds and greens. Notice it's just kind of smeared all across. There's just really no area of rotation that looks super concerning. And just to zoom in on that one that we have been watching here, again, not for an immediate tornado risk, but this is very broad. Notice that there is some of these reds and these greens that are closer, but it's not tightly knit. It's not the immediate risk that you would need. No warnings for this, but I'm sure if you look outside, you'll see some scud clouds. It might look scary, especially if you're driving, but right now, no tornado risk immediate with this. It's a broad area of rotation just because we have that low pressure moving in. But notice, just to kind of ease your fears, it's not tightly knit. It's not bright reds. It's not green reds either. So we're going to be watching that there. But like I said, it's very, very weak. If anything were to be forming, notice it's the lowest end of the scale. So just to ease any fears, we're watching it. And if anything, you know, starts to come back up, we'll let you know if you need to be aware of it. But right now, we're not talking any sort of risk. We also have our camera kind of in that general vicinity there and not necessarily seeing anything. Just looking to see what any of our cameras are. It just looks wet, wet, wet. Every single camera we got off to the side here, so you can't see it, but to my right, we have this awesome screen that has all of our cameras up there, and every single camera has raindrops all over it. So just to say the least, it is a wet afternoon there. Let's go into the River Valley here real quick, just for any viewers in the River Valley. And just real quick too, we can't see your comments if you're on YouTube. I don't know if we're on Facebook right now just because it had some issues there, but we can't see your comments. So if you're leaving any sort of comments, we're not able to see that there. Okay. But, you know, that's just something to bring up there to our viewers there if they had any sort of questions. River Valley, it's quiet. But I do think because, you know, if you've lived in the River Valley your whole life, you know, some of these areas in Crawford and Sebastian counties, there's some flood-prone areas, and we've already seen a lot of rainfall over the last several weeks. Be mindful of those side roads or those areas prone to flooding just because, you know, more rainfall, that's going to lead to an issue. Already seen some flash flood warnings for portions of Scott and Logan counties there and maybe into Johnson County, but that's just about it. We're going to send it back to Scott here real quick as we're at 3:43 p.m.
All right, here's where we stand as of right now. No active warnings for the bulk of our viewing area. tornado watch is going to continue for Madison, Franklin, and Washington for a little bit longer. I can give you the all clear in Crawford and Sebastian, as well as all of eastern Oklahoma. You're no longer included in that tornado watch, which is some good news for us. We've got a little bit longer to go for the portions of Johnson, Logan, and Scott counties, as well as Franklin, Madison, and Washington. There was a little bit of confusion earlier as to whether or not Johnson County was included in that watch. It is. That watch for Johnson County runs through 10 o'clock there this evening. Watching the cell move through Logan County. Right now, it's not severe, but it could have some gusty winds moving through, so we'll watch that for you very closely. This is going to wrap up our stream for right now. If by chance a new warning is issued, it could be possible. It really could. We'll fire one back up. Of course, we got Channel 5 coming up here in your news at 4 in about 15 minutes. We'll have the latest on these as well. We're leaving you in a place at this moment where there's no active severe weather. That's the good news for us. That trend hopefully continues over the next several hours. We'll be right back here if a warning is issued. In the meantime, we'll go and end the stream, and we'll see you back here live in 15 minutes on your 5 News at 4.